Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Naruto. My Clone Can Evolve. Chapter 81. A stream of sand, a stream of blood. The two forces were locked in a stalemate in the air. But Chiano's little face turned paler and paler, and finally she couldn't hold on any longer and started to change her tactics. All the blood light gathered together and turned into a sharp spear, stabbing Gaara. Orochimaru saw this and narrowed his eyes. It seems that the little girl can no longer support this huge consumption. Zanu's heart tightened. He could naturally see that Chiano consumed a lot of blood in her body. This is actually a very dangerous move, although the blood in the blood pool family is very pure. However, if the effect exceeds a certain level, it may still be life-threatening. I think she can probably fight for 5 minutes. Zanu gritted her teeth. Gaara is too strong. Should we stop the game? Sakura asked. No, Chiano also wants to have a good fight. Zanu said, I will watch, don't worry. I saw Chiano using up all the blood energy to create a spear and throw it. He must have wanted to tear apart Gaara's absolute defense. Gaara sneered and clasped his hands together. Countless sand and dust gathered around him instantly, forming a shield of sand. Blood Dragon Spear, Sand Shield. One side is the strongest spear, and the other side is the strongest shield. The two parties collided with each other and there were strong sparks. For a moment, no one could see clearly who had the upper hand. Chiano's Blood Dragon Spear continued to penetrate into the depths of the sand shield like an electric drill. Moreover, as it continues to rotate, it is still creating violent explosions. But Gaara remains unmoved. Finally, all the power subsided. Chiano knelt on the ground. Too much blood in her body had been consumed. At this moment, I can no longer stand up. The other half, Gaara. His self-proclaimed powerful sand shield was actually destroyed by 2/3 at this moment. Most of his body was exposed outside the shield. Gaara was stunned for a moment, and then there was a hint of coldness all over his body. If it weren't for the excessive consumption of Chiano's blood, she would be unable to maintain her ninjutsu. I am afraid that I have been completely penetrated just now. The shield of sand was broken by the Blood Dragon Spear. Ah! Gaara roared angrily, and the sand instantly turned into a ball, wrapping him in it. Gaara has been lost in everyone's eyes. Terrifying spikes are constantly growing on the surface of this maracas. Zanu knew that this maracas represented Gaara's emotions. The more Gaara's mood fluctuates, the more dangerous this maracas will become. Shiranui Genma made a quick decision and stopped the game from continuing. The victory has been decided. Chino is unable to continue fighting. Gaara of Sand Falls is judged to be the winner. But even though Shiranui Genma said this, Gaara still didn't release his state. Zanu frowned and stepped onto the ring. He ignored Gaara, just picked up Chino and returned to the audience. Don't go near that guy. A little stimulation will make him go berserk. After hearing what Zanu said, Shiranui Xuanjian didn't dare to act rashly. Gaara remained in his maracas state until Tamari and Kankuro arrived. Gaara slowly calmed down after being comforted by the two brothers and sisters. Snort. Gaara covered his forehead, slowly stood up from the sand, and stared at Zanu. Zanu has stopped him again and again, which makes him very unhappy. Can the final game be postponed for a while? I want to treat Chiano. Zanu made this request, and Shiranui Genma immediately agreed. As the Hokage's guard, he naturally knows all the information about Zanu. Therefore, he will not be treated as a mere genin. Anyway, Uchiha Sasuke hasn't arrived yet, so there's no need to be so anxious. In the stands, Chiano was lying on the ground, unconscious. A drop of sweat dripped down Xuanu's forehead. He knew that Chiano had lost too much blood because of anemia. In a short period of time, it will be dangerous if the blood is not replenished. What happened? The medical team finally came over with a stretcher. Chiano will be examined soon. No need, she is extremely anemic. Zanu said, do you have plasma? The medical team was stunned. In their era, there was no concept of blood transfusion. If anyone is seriously injured, they can only rely on their own healing ability and some medicine. No solution anymore. Zanu's palms created ripples of chakra. He has mastered all medical ninjutsu. He must build a blood transfusion bridge between his own body and Chiano's body. In this way, Chino can be saved. A blue chakra thread was pulled out, connecting the arteries of Xuanyu and Qiano. Sure enough, after the blood slowly poured in, Qiano's complexion recovered a lot. Later, Xuanyu used medical ninjutsu to transfer a lot of chakra to Qiano. The blood pool clan, with chakra, can activate red blood cells in the body. After doing this, Qiano was considered out of danger. Please take her to rest. Zanu had lost a lot of blood and looked tired at the moment. No matter how strong he is or how much blood he loses, he will still have corresponding symptoms. Are you okay? You're going to compete with Sasuke later. Sakura and Kuritsuchi were both worried. Zanu shook her head. To deal with Sasuke, you don't need to be in good shape. However, he might have to deal with Orochimaru and Shukaku soon. Thinking about it this way, I still need to urgently take a break. Suddenly, a whirlwind appeared in the center of the venue. Two figures suddenly appeared, ignoring everyone's surprised looks. Sorry, we're late. Kakashi's tone was extremely frivolous, and he was clearly just trying to steal the spotlight. Sasuke still had a stern look on his face, but his temperament was very different from before. It seems that Kakashi has given him many skills. Asuma smiled. Shiranui Genma breathed a sigh of relief. If you don't come, Sasuke will be disqualified. He looked at Kakashi with complaints in his eyes. With Kakashi as a teacher, I wonder if Sasuke will look like him in the future. Thinking of this, the Junin of Konoha felt very headaches. Okay, let's start making a scene. Kakashi laughed. However, when Kakashi looked back and saw the words on the giant screen, I was stunned for a moment. Sasuke and Zanu are fighting. Kakashi was stunned. What is going on? This is the result of the draw. Shiranui Genma spread his hands and said with a smile. When he heard this arrangement, even Sasuke's face looked a little strange. Is my hard work and training going to be wasted for so long? Even if you practice 1 or 2 ninjutsu, how can you possibly compare to that monster Zanu? Zanu jumped off the stand, her face turned pale. Sasuke, your chance has come. Zanu said with a playful smile. What do you mean? Sasuke asked reluctantly. Although his momentum remained unchanged on the surface, in his heart, he had already decided that he could not win Zanu. As you can see, I am injured now. Zanu said with a bitter smile, because I lost a lot of blood, I can't even stand still. Sasuke and Kakashi were stunned. Really, Zanu's face was as pale as a dead person. But even like this, he still has a deterrent effect. Sasuke, as long as you can hurt me, I will teach you a new ninjutsu. Zanu smiled. Seeing Zanu looking down on him so much, Sasuke's face also turned angry. Sasuke gritted his teeth and said, I will definitely make you look good. Is it okay, Zanu? Shiranui Genma saw Zanu losing a lot of blood and confirmed it. After seeing Zanu shaking her head indifferently, he ordered, the game begins. Orochimaru in the stands was also sweating. He originally thought that Gaara would go on a rampage at the venue. However, it was suppressed. Because Gaara didn't face a strong opponent, he wouldn't go berserk if he wasn't injured. This completely messed up Orochimaru's plan. The last game is very interesting, Sandai said slowly. Yes, Orochimaru forced a smile. He suddenly had a plan in his heart, and then he immediately showed an evil smile. In the venue, Zanu and Sasuke stood opposite each other. Bring it on. Zanu smiled faintly. Sasuke didn't hesitate and instantly opened the second Magatama Sharingan. Then, he actually opened the first door of the 8 gates of Dunjia. Open the door. Under Kakashi's guidance, Sasuke copied this high-speed movement pattern on his own after watching Rock Lee's battle. Like Lee, Sasuke began to circle Zanu at super high speed. The purpose is to make the first kick come out of nowhere so that the opponent cannot react in time. But Zanu had no intention of opening the Sharingan. He just closed his eyes. Faced with such aggressive actions, he actually closed his eyes. How big is this heart? Your murderous intent is too strong. Zanu said with her eyes closed, this way, even if I don't look, I can defeat your move. Snapped. Sasuke's shadow dance leaf kick was easily blocked by Zanu's palm. This is the weakness of Shadow Wuya. If the first attack fails, subsequent moves will not be released at all. But at this moment, Uchiha Sasuke suddenly turned into a piece of wood. Even Zanu was slightly surprised. Turns out he was a stand-in. When you don't know the opponent's strength, use a substitute to test it. This is what Kakashi taught you, right? Zanu said with a smile. From behind, a huge force struck, instantly lifting Zanu into the air. Lion's continuous bullets change. Chidori's continuous bullets. This time Sasuke's lion combo is different from the ordinary one. In his palm, thousands of birds suddenly gathered. Bursts of thunder and lightning sounds like birdsong rang in Zanu's ears. The so-called thousand birds bomb. It is a powerful killing move that uses the Chidori to continuously attack the enemy in the air. In the venue, a bright thunder light directly illuminated the venue. I saw a lightning strike in the sky, striking down. That is the trajectory of Zanu being attacked from top to bottom by Sasuke using Chidori bullets. Boom! The last blow caused a huge thunderstorm pit to form directly on the ground. This shows how powerful Sasuke's move is. Call. Sasuke had just consumed a lot of energy and chakra in a series, and now his breathing was beginning to become rapid. However, Zanu's physical body was indeed badly beaten by him. Did it succeed? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. At this time, a burst of loud laughter came from the thunderstorm pit. It's so pleasurable to get beaten occasionally. Zanu climbed out of the pit, patted the dust on her body and twisted her shoulders. His eyes were still bright, staring at Sasuke. It seems like that's all. The whole audience was shocked. Suffered that terrible lightning strike and survived unscathed. Who is this? Just now, Zanu used her dark chakra to cover every corner of her body. Therefore, Sasuke's attacks were absorbed by Zanu without exception. How can this be? Sasuke stared at all this in stunned silence. He didn't expect that his strongest combination attack would be easily broken by Zanu. Boom! Zanu's figure blurred for a moment, and Sasuke flew out. He was knocked away without even seeing the action clearly. Moreover, the blow was so severe that he could not get up. Zanu wins, Shiranui Genma immediately announced. He fully knew how much stronger Zanu was than Sasuke. Zanu smiled lightly. Actually, you've done a good job, Sasuke. At least, if it cuts my face, it can be regarded as hurting me. Sasuke raised his head and found a faint blood stain on Zanu's face. I just tried my best, but only hurt him a little. The unwillingness gradually spread, but Zanu's words reignited his interest. I said I would teach you ninjutsu, so I wouldn't lie to you. Zanu said with a smile, this is the secret to training the Thunder Chakra mode, I'll leave it to you. Zanu instantly opened the Sharingan. A flash of consciousness penetrated Sasuke's Sharingan eyes. The key to the Thunder Escape Chakra pattern is written in that consciousness. This technique is. Sasuke climbed up and was immediately attracted by the exquisite Thunder Escape ninjutsu. With that ninjutsu, you can definitely greatly enhance your mobility and combat capabilities. He disrespected Zanu so much, but he still received his gift. No matter what, Sasuke couldn't escape this time. In order to gain the strength to take revenge, I had to become stronger. You helped me, I won't forget it. Sasuke finally choked out these words. Although she was still a little reluctant, Zanu already knew that this was Sasuke's way of expressing his gratitude. Apart from Zanu, there is probably no one else who can make him say these words. Shiranui Genma said loudly. With this, the showdown for the Chunin exams is all over. After that, there is the comment and scoring session from each instructor. The final decision on who can become a Chunin needs to be decided through consultation together. After Shiranui Genma finished speaking, he left the scene. Haha, it seems it must be me. Uzumaki Naruto defeated Hyuga Neji, and his confidence was overwhelming at this moment. To say that the competition was overwhelming, probably besides Zanu, it was Naruto. The Chunin exam evaluates overall ability. Winning alone is useless. Shikamaru poured a basin of cold water on it. This made Naruto very angry. Shikamaru, in short, you loser, don't even think about it. Shikamaru sighed. He also gave up because he didn't have enough chakra. At this time, a strange sound suddenly came into my ears. When I looked around again, I found that all the spectators were already asleep. Sure enough, it's here. Zanu sneered. I saw countless feathers falling from the sky. This pure white feather fell into the audience, and within a short time, the audience fell into a drowsy state. In a corner of the venue, a hooded man was performing a spell. This person is Kabuto Yakushi. Although he suffered defeat in Zanu's hands many times. However, he was still confident that Zanu could not stop the joint plan of the Sound Ninja and the Sand Ninja. The art of Nirvana. This is a large-scale hypnotic illusion. It can make a large number of falling feathers appear in people's vision. In the process, the person falls into drowsiness. At this moment, not only the audience, but also almost all the genin fell asleep. Xuanyu and Chiano are naturally not afraid of this level of illusion. Sakura is also able to unlock genjutsu on her own. Zanu smiled faintly. Illusions of this level can only deceive some ordinary people and genin who don't understand illusions. But that's enough for them. At this moment, countless ninjas suddenly appeared on the dome of the venue. On their foreheads were the forehead protectors of the Sound Ninja and the Sand Ninja. Start attacking inside the venue. In the venue, the Chunin and Junin who had not been affected by the genjutsu all looked panicked. But Zanu remained calm. That's natural, because he already knows the plot. It seems they still plan to start a war, haha. Zanu sneered. It's really overestimating one's abilities. After helping Kuretsuchi unlock the illusion, Zanu assigned tasks to the remaining people. Chiano, Sakura, go help your companions and unravel their illusions. Kuretsuchi, protect them. At this time, a person walked out of the corner. I'm here to help too. Shikamaru smiled lightly. Xuanyu, you seem to be a very reliable person. In this way, several genin began to rescue the sleeping enemies. Kakashi, Akai, Kurenai, Asuma and other jonins also began to help deal with the invading ninjas. Looking at the chaotic venue. In the center of the ring, Genma Shiranui had an ugly expression. He glared at the sand ninjas in front of him. You dare to attack Konoha, you are so brave. Come together, you fools. Shiranui Genma instantly spat out the Shinban in his mouth. As he quickly formed seals, Shinban clones produced dozens of Shinban. The Sand Ninja and Sound Ninja in front of them fell into a large area in an instant. In Zanu's opinion, Konoha still has some background. These Junin and Chunin who were not hypnotized instantly fought with the enemy. However, what makes Konoha troublesome is yet to come. At this moment, 3 giant snakes suddenly appeared at the entrance of the village. Xuanyu knew that it was the psychic beast that Orochimaru channeled in advance to attack Konoha. Although this psychic beast is not enough to destroy Konoha. It's just that it can attract a large number of ninjas fighting power. Let the venue fall into a state of isolation and helplessness. It has to be said that Orochimaru's strategy is quite seamless. Able to single-handedly play with the Sand Ninja and Konoha, and finally kill the 3rd Hokage. This is already very good. However, this time, Zanu wants to completely change the situation of the battle. As soon as the change started, of course the 3rd Hokage reacted immediately. However, Orochimaru took the lead. He directly grabbed Sandai, and the two of them jumped onto the roof together. The guards beside Sandai were also instantly entangled by the enemy. Sarutobi-sensei, long time no see. Orochimaru took off his mask, revealing his true face. Sandai was shocked. He didn't expect that the disciple he hadn't seen for many years would appear in front of him again. It's you, Orochimaru, Sarutobi said bitterly. What do you want to do when you come back? Orochimaru sneered. Of course I came back and took the Hokage's seat. Sarutobi-sensei, you are so blind that you didn't even recognize me. It seems that there is no need for you to stay in the position of Hokage anymore. Sarutobi snorted coldly. Whether my eyesight is dim or not, let me judge by my strength. The two separated, and Orochimaru inserted the kunai into his palm. He didn't have the heart to stab Sarutobi in the neck. However, he still planned to fight Sarutobi head-on. Orochimaru, I once let you go. I didn't expect you to dare to challenge me. Then don't blame me for being rude and not remembering the friendship between master and disciple. Sarutobi threw off his Hokage robe and entered a fighting position. Although he is old, his spirit is still strong. Facing Orochimaru, he didn't lose at all. At this time, several Anbu ninjas suddenly arrived from all around. Come support the Hokage. Don't get in the way. A loud voice came. 4 figures landed on the 4 corners of the roof, setting up barriers respectively. 4 purple flame formation. 4 walls made of flames appeared in the 4 directions, east, west, north and south. Severe burns can occur upon break-in. Not even able to survive. Therefore, the Anbu is also inaccessible. Go save the others, leave this to me. Sarutobi said calmly, quite like the domineering Hokage. Orochimaru sneered. Sarutobi, you are too confident. Do you think I came to kill you without any preparation? After saying that, Orochimaru formed a long series of seals. Sarutobi was stunned. This seal is. Orochimaru curled his lips. Reincarnation from the dirty soil. I saw 2 coffins rising from the soil in an instant. Above, it says 1 and 2 respectively. Sarutobi was stunned. Reincarnation from dirty soil is a technique that summons the dead to come back to life. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru found the remains of the first and second Hokages. When the third coffin came out, it read, 4. Sarutobi frowned and quickly used the shuriken shadow clone technique. Countless shurikens attacked the third coffin. We must not let the last one come out. Sarutobi was very afraid that the fourth Hokage would come out. Because after all, the fourth Hokage would cause him too much trouble. Flying Thunder God, Rasengan. Even Nine Tails mode. They are much more difficult than the first and second generations. However, seeing the third coffin, Sarutobi had to suppress it. An earth current wall rose from the ground. Blocked all of Sarutobi's shurikens. Sarutobi and Orochimaru were surprised at the same time. Orochimaru obviously didn't take action. Who is helping him? Sarutobi thought to himself. Orochimaru was also stunned. I have no time to stop, so who is helping me? A figure came out from the side. It's Zanu. Don't be so impatient, Sarutobi. Xuanyu said with a faint smile, I really want to see how powerful the fourth generation summoned by Orochimaru is. The two of them were stunned at the same time. Orochimaru didn't expect Zanu to help him. And Sarutobi was even more surprised. You know it's the fourth generation. Why don't you stop it? Do you want Konoha to be destroyed? Are you crazy? Sarutobi looked at Zanu with a look of resentment. Now he was finally sure that Zanu was definitely an undercover agent sent by Yenian village. I want to see Konoha die. But Zanu thought very simply. Due to the existence of the system, the more powerful people he defeats, the more new abilities he can acquire. In this way, if the fourth generation can come out, wouldn't there be more possibilities for becoming stronger? Orochimaru sneered from the side. Zan-Yujun, we meet again. It seems that you were very satisfied with the gift last time. Zan-Yu smiled. Although that 1,000,000 taels of gold is indeed a very good gift. But what I hate most is that you tricked me. So if I don't take you back and study you carefully, don't try to appease my anger. Orochimaru shook his head. You just stopped Sarutobi's attack, that's why you failed. You don't really think that being able to challenge the 3 fire shadows alone won't be stressful, do you? Orochimaru waved his hand, and 3 figures fell out of the coffin. They are the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, and the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato. Sarutobi gritted his teeth. Sure enough, it was the 3 of them. This is going to be tricky, Zan-Yu. The 2 of us have to join forces. Sarutobi said. Only the first and second generations, Sarutobi still had some confidence to stop it. As long as you can use the zombies to seal them all, you can die with them. But if the fourth generation also comes out, then the situation is beyond his control. Don't worry, you can just watch from the side. Zan-Yu said calmly while picking her ears. He even just regarded it all as a game, without any sense of tension. Orochimaru chuckled darkly. Speaking of which, how did you get in? Did you ambush the 4 purple flame formation in advance? Zan-Yu shook her head. He showed off his Flying Thunder God Kunai. The Flying Thunder God's technique is quite easy to use. Zan-Yu said with a smile. Sarutobi was stunned. It's exactly what Jiraiya said. He really possesses the Flying Thunder God technique, this forbidden technique. Where did you learn it? Sarutobi hesitated, but still decided to believe Zan-Yu. If you have the Flying Thunder God, you might be able to defeat the 3 Hokage plus Orochimaru. Old man Sarutobi, please don't use any kind of quartz seal without authorization for a while. It's not worth trading your life for a few natives. As soon as Zan-Yu said this, Sarutobi was surprised again. Haha, do you have the ability to read minds? Sarutobi said with a wry smile. Well, let's just listen to you, a young man, this time. In fact, Zanu didn't regard this time as a game. Because neither Orochimaru nor Sarutobi. In the end, they are still their own people. There's no need to make things so rigid. Without further ado, let's start quickly. Orochimaru smiled softly. The control of the 3 Hokages was released. Senju Hashirama, Tobirama, and Namikaze Minato all opened their eyes together. Is this young man the one who summoned us? Senju Hashirama said with a smile. There are so many talents, Konoha. But obviously, we have to face Sarutobi. Senju Tobirama said. Namikaze Minato looked back at Orochimaru. Immediately he fell into consternation. Orochimaru-sensei. Namikaze Minato saw Orochimaru's face. His expression suddenly changed. Teacher, what did you summon me to do? Namikaze Minato was stunned. Orochimaru smiled contemptuously. Of course I want you to help me kill old man Sarutobi. The first, second and fourth generations were shocked at the same time. Kill old man Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage. He, it turned out, was being used as a gun. The 2nd generation Hokage, who has always been stern, is the type who can't get rid of the dirt in his eyes. Nonsense, you junior don't want to die. If you dare to fight against Konoha, are you ready to die? The 2nd generation instantly spread a huge chakra and crushed it. But it was easily resolved by Orochimaru. Don't waste your efforts, Tobirama-sama. You were summoned by me, so you must obey my orders. Although the 2nd generation was angry, it was difficult to get angry. As long as Orochimaru doesn't liberate their true personalities, he won't be able to display his true strength. Even if his personality is returned to them, it will be difficult for Tobirama to unravel the reincarnation of the Dirty Land. Unless he has the ability of another god like Uchiha Itachi. Calm down, Tobirama, let's hear what they want to do first. Just talk it over, everyone. Senju Hashirama usually doesn't have the airs of a ninja god at all. He usually acts as a peacemaker and is very elegant and easygoing. Orochimaru smiled. Well, I didn't want to return the real power to you. However, Zanu's strength is really amazing. Let you use your strongest power. It was seen that Orochimaru did not insert the kunai into the back of the 3 Hokages' heads. In this way, it is equivalent to not depriving oneself of personality. Let the Hokages of all generations show their true strength. Oh, you are very brave. Senju Tobirama realized this and immediately tried to release his control. But I tried it, but to no avail. Orochimaru is not someone to take things for granted. His filthy earth reincarnation cannot be broken by ordinary people. Ha ha ha, even I can't get rid of your control. Senju Hashirama said with a smile, it seems you have some strength. On the contrary, Namikaze Minato scratched his head and said awkwardly. Teacher Orochimaru, I don't want to be an enemy of the 3rd generation. But even with kind words, Orochimaru remained unmoved. Seeing Orochimaru do this, Zanu smiled even more happily. This is best, Orochimaru. Of course I want to fight with the powerful Hokages. After saying that, Zanu jumped down and stood in front of Sandai. He waved to the 1st, 2nd and 4th generations. You all come together, I want to see how powerful the past Hokages are. Ding! The system automatically releases the task. Defeat the 1st Hokage, the reincarnation of the earth, and get the bonus wood clone technique. Defeat the 2nd Hokage, reincarnation of the earth, and get the ultimate water attribute as a reward. Defeat the 4th Hokage, the reincarnation of the earth, and get the perfect Jinchuriki as a reward. These are all tempting rewards. Let Zanu almost smile from ear to ear. Once the wood clone technique is mastered, it means that the 1st Hokage's many powerful wood releases can be used at will. And the ultimate water attribute can further enhance your water escape power. The perfect Jinchuriki is even more fragrant. I'm afraid it's the container that can turn me into a perfect Jinchuriki. Ha ha ha, I can't wait. Zanu laughed. See Zanu's appearance. The Hokages were all dumbfounded. Brother, is this kid sick? Qianshu Feijian pointed at Zanu. How dare you say such shameless words in front of our past Hokages? You really don't take our Konoha seriously. Chinsho Feijian, the person he hates the most in his life is the person who is the enemy of the village. He is an ambitious man of action, and protecting the village is his only priority. It can be said that Senju Tobirama is equivalent to Konoha's position. If you tried to disrespect Konoha, he would be ready to crawl out of his grave and beat you. Calm down, Tobirama, your temper really hasn't changed. Senju Hashirama smiled warmly, showing the demeanor of a strong man. Then, he looked at Zanu, who had white hair, and also felt Zanu's confident gaze. It's true that heroes emerge from youth. Senju Hashirama smiled appreciatively. I have never seen a person of your age with such a temperament, except Uchiha Madara. Namikaze Minato also smiled at Zanu. He has the same heroic spirit as Kakashi when he was a child. It seems he is already a Jonin, right? All the Hokages were full of praise for Zanu, completely ignoring Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen. The third Hokage was a little angry at his corruption. It was a life-and-death duel, but when Zanu came, it ended up like this. Why do you think it's the same as a gathering of seniors and juniors? Old man Sarutobi, let's go fight on the other side. Orochimaru finally couldn't bear it anymore. Rushing towards Sarutobi, the two engaged in battle. Sarutobi, of course, also happened to have itchy hands. One holds a Kusanagi sword and the other holds a golden cudgel. The two are almost equal. Seeing this, Senju Hashirama smiled. Let's do some activities too. But boy, let me remind you. We are not that easy to deal with. Zanu sneered. I think you did something wrong. It is such a simple and straightforward thing for me to defeat you and get the reward. In the next battle, you will see everything clearly. Thousand Hands Tobirama said angrily. You are such an arrogant brat. Look at me teaching you a lesson. After saying that, Senju Tobirama took the lead. Water escape. Water dragon bites and explodes. A huge wave of water rushed up from the soles of Zanu's feet. A water dragon fell from the sky and was about to eat Zanu in one bite. This is an advanced version of the super powerful water dragon bullet developed by Senju Tobirama. It's even more terrifying when he uses it now. Boring ninjutsu. Zanu sneered, and her whole body turned into water waves. The art of hydration, directly integrated into the water escape. Are you a descendant of the Ghost Lantern clan? The second Hokage took a step back. If he possesses the art of hydration, the water escape that the second generation was so proud of would be difficult to use. What's all the fuss about with just the art of water transformation? Zanu walked out of the water and separated the huge water flow, like a sea god. Tobirama, let me show you my water escape. After saying that, Zanu began to form seals quickly. Countless huge water dragons condensed from behind. Water escape. 1,000 dragon water bite. Hundreds of water dragons gathered together and attacked the three Hokages. Seeing this, the second Hokage directly used his strongest water escape. Water escape. Water breaking wave. Several high-pressure water waves continuously cut through Zanu's terrifying water escape. However, there are still too many water dragons. Fortunately, Senju Hashirama took action in time. Wooden escape. The tree world is coming. A large forest of sacred trees grew directly on the roof ridge. All the oncoming water dragons were absorbed using wood release. Senju Hashirama wiped his sweat. It's so dangerous. I have never seen such a terrifying water escape in my life. Although I appreciate it very much, I still feel comfortable with it. Zanu knew that the strength she had shown was not at a level that would scare Senju Hashirama. Then, he planned to use his true strength. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, open. A scarlet color flooded the air. Everyone felt an unusual and familiar pressure. This time, Senju Hashirama's expression changed. Schwanyu. You actually have the same eyes as Uchiha Madara. What's the matter? Over the past 100 years, no one else has had the Naoba Sharingan except Uchiha Madara. Unexpectedly, it would reappear through the eyes of a young man. Stop asking so many questions and use your immortal mode. Zanu smiled lightly. If you don't use all your strength from the beginning, you will be defeated by me in an instant. At this time, the three Hokages also looked nervous. I saw that the fourth generation used the Flying Thunder God technique without any hesitation. The thrown kunai passed through Zanu's face, and her body was instantly transferred to the kunai. Flying Thunder God Slash. Almost no one can avoid this move. Because this speed is simply unmatched by anyone. However, the kunai in his hand was about to hit Zanu. Zanu suddenly moved. Just for a moment, he disappeared and reappeared somewhere else. What? The fourth generation was stunned. This is actually the Flying Thunder God. The second generation Hokage who created this technique was the most surprised. He didn't expect that 100 years later, someone would still be able to learn this technique. It's going to be difficult, the second generation said through gritted teeth. Minato, let's go together. I saw the two of them using the Flying Thunder God technique at the same time to deal with Zanu. Zanu smiled contemptuously. He also used the Flying Thunder God technique to join the battle. The three people transformed into three rays of light, colliding in the air. Senju Hashirama looked confused. With the three Flying Thunder Gods dancing together, he couldn't find a chance to take action. If you are not careful, you will accidentally injure your teammates. Let's refine some senjutsu chakra first. Senju Hashirama clasped his palms together and began to enter Sage mode. The simultaneous fierce attack of the second generation and the fourth generation really gave Zanu a headache. However, he still has too many tricks that he hasn't used yet. Just when the two of them seized the opportunity and were about to meet Zanu, Zanu's body suddenly became transparent and was penetrated by the attack without causing any damage. The fourth generation was shocked and stopped in place without attacking. The divine power used by Zanu reminded him of the fight with Obito that night when Kyuubi went berserk. Are you Uchiha Madara? Yondaime asked. Haha, are you talking about divine power? Zanu laughed. That move is not the only one you have seen. The fourth generation's eyes became serious. If Zanu is the masked man, he can be said to be the enemy of himself, his wife, and even Naruto. This news made the battle between the four generations more intense. He even used a killer move like the Rasengan. However, these tricks were all broken one by Zanu's use of Flying Thunder God and Divine Power Hollow. On the contrary, the second and fourth generations were panting from exhaustion. Zanu's palms instantly condensed two colorful balls. Minato, this is how the Rasengan is meant to be used. Ignoring the astonished looks of the fourth generation, Zanu rolled out two meatballs. It's not just that. Zanu added Thunder Chakra and Fire Chakra into the balls. This is the Fire Release Rasengan, the Thunder Release Rasengan. Zanu smiled faintly, and two balls were thrown out of thin air. I saw thunder and flames exploding on the fourth generation. That brief moment of shock actually prevented the fourth generation from escaping with the Flying Thunder God. Too careless. The fourth generation stood up. Half of his clay body had disappeared. This move is so powerful that even the reincarnated body of the Dirty Land cannot heal quickly. Originally, the body after the reincarnation of the Dirty Earth would be reformed after a period of time. However, the Thunder Escape Chakra left by Zanu greatly delayed the recovery time of Tu's body. You actually know how to use the Rasengan. The fourth generation smiled bitterly, and I didn't expect that you would use it better than me. Zanu not only rolled out the Rasengan. Different chakra changes are also added to the properties of the Rasengan. It's not like the fourth generation hasn't thought about this. However, in the end, only the wind release was the most suitable attribute for condensing the Rasengan. As for the others, they were all given up because they were too difficult. Minato, there's no time to wonder what jutsu he knows now. Senju Tobirama said calmly. It should be said that this boy has been subverting our common sense from the beginning. No matter what he does next, there is no need to be surprised. Tobirama's words made the panicked Minato calm down a little. When facing Zanu, you must be prepared to be shocked at any time. One more time, Tobirama and Minato once again used the Flying Thunder God to approach Zanu. But Zanu, to be honest, is tired of this kind of fighting. It turns out that the legendary Hokages are nothing more than this. I'm going to get serious. The blood color in his eyes spread instantly, and the scarlet Susanoo appeared like a strong wind. Behind Zanu, Susanoo was wielding two swords, making Minato and Tobirama afraid to move forward rashly. This is Susanoo's complete form. Just like Uchiha Madara's. Senju Tobirama frowned. Although Schwanyu does not have Madara's ultimate Sharingan ability. But Zanu has almost countless types of tricks. At this point, it is much more difficult than Madara. Besides, Uchiha Madara doesn't have as many clever ideas as Zanu. Are you ready? Flying Thunder God plus Susanoo. How much power can it exert? This is Zanu's first attempt to combine two stunts. Extreme destructive power and extreme speed. It's equal to invincible. Zanu instantly transformed into a scarlet wind and came to the two of them in the blink of an eye. Susanoo slashed out with both swords. The super shadow level swordsmanship ability is also applied to Susanoo's sword intention. Susanoo. I slash. Two slashes passed through the bodies of Tobirama and Yondaime. The two of them didn't even have time to react before they were cut into two pieces by Zanu. I can't see clearly. Tobirama snorted coldly. The fourth generation was even more unable to realize how Zanu's attack was carried out. Although half of their bodies disappeared, they would not die. Because their bodies are already filthy, and as time passes, they can slowly recover. It's just the remaining chakra from Zanu's attack that makes this time longer. Ha ha ha, it's really awesome. In the distance, there was a burst of hearty laughter. Senjujujian, sitting cross-legged, has been watching. From the beginning, he had never interfered with the battle between Zanu and the two men. You are the only one left, Hokage 1. Zanu smiled lightly. There was a good opportunity just now, why didn't you attack me? Senju Hashirama smiled brightly. His face was still full of confidence. Isn't it a shame for a warrior to attack from behind? From this point of view, Senju Hashirama is less like a ninja leader and more like a samurai. Isn't he a ninja but a warrior? Zanu smiled playfully. The god of ninja is indeed extraordinary. But unfortunately, I will accept your wood release. Zanu continued to advance forward, and with Susanoo's two swords in his hands, he slashed at Senju Hashirama. The face of Senju Hashirama does not change, and he stretches out one hand to form a seal. Wooden release. Ranking technique. A huge wooden shield grew out of thin air. A terrifying fang face was painted on the shield, which made Zanu feel a mysterious power. The shield was struck down by Susanoo's two swords, but it didn't move at all. There was not even a single crack on the surface. Kamui. The power of divine power was suddenly released, causing the surface of the shield to emerge. Senju Hashirama felt a pulling force, and then formed the seal again. Countless tangled branches grew from the shield, directly filling the black hole created by Zanu. After a while, the two separated. Interesting. Zanu's attack failed to work. Gaara's Shukaku shield is an absolute defense. Then Senju Hashirama's ranking technique is god-level defense. Show your true strength, young man. Senju Hashirama smiled, his face covered with strange lines. Immortal mode is on. A majestic senjutsu chakra emerged from Senju Hashirama. Even just standing around made Zanu feel a tremor. Zanu took a deep breath and looked at the first Hokage. It turns out that this is his true strength. You said you couldn't undo Orochimaru's filthy earth reincarnation. Are you lying? Zanu sneered. Senju Hashirama smiled. If we defeat Orochimaru from the beginning, wouldn't we miss this genius of yours? If at that time, Orochimaru's earth reincarnation was unlocked. They have no reason to fight Zanu. Sure enough, it turns out you are the old fox. Zanu sneered. Senju Hashirama has no IQ, this is definitely an act. Under his seemingly harmless face, there may be a city deeper than Tobirama hidden. On the contrary, Senju Tobirama always likes to show his emotions, anger, sorrow and joy on his face. And people like Senju Hashirama can laugh at everything. That's what's really scary. What are you going to do to fight me? I saw Senju Hashirama taking action instantly, forming a seal with both hands. Wooden escape. Wooden man's technique. I saw surging chakra being poured into the branches. A small branch grew into a towering tree in an instant. Then, the big tree transformed into a giant wooden man. I saw Bakudo holding genjutsu Susanoo's body with one hand. For a moment, Susanoo was suppressed by Senju Hashirama's wooden figure, unable to lift his head. You know, the Bakudo back then could compete with the powerful Susanoo. Susanoo alone would hardly be a match for Senju Hashirama. Is this the wooden man's technique? But you still think too simply. Zanu showed a proud smile. Senju Hashirama didn't expect Zanu to have a backup move. Now, even he couldn't help but feel a little excited. He didn't know what other skills this boy could come up with that were stronger than the complete Susanoo. I saw Zanu's double divine power activated, sawing off the wooden man's arm. Then, he took Susanoo and took a step back. Zanu's face was very calm, and she didn't mean to be intimidated by the magic of the generation at all. Zanu closed her eyes and began to summon another strange and mysterious power from her body. Wisps of black energy overflowed from Zanu's body. This wisp of black energy grew larger and larger, until it wrapped around the entire Susanoo and then gradually stopped. Dark chakra. Zanu opened her eyes, and in her Sharingan eyes, there was a trace of black energy rippling. This is Zanu's constant challenge from the realm of nothingness. Just a little bit of dark chakra was condensed. But even this little bit was enough to completely wrap up Susanoo. Senju Tobirama was stunned. What is this? This dark chakra is more terrifying than the power of the tailed beast. The fourth Namikaze Minato also felt this pressure. The nine tails negative chakra in his body began to gradually become excited. Xuanyu's Susanoo now seemed to be wearing a set of pitch black armor. The strange aura emanating from this wisp of black energy is more terrifying than magic. Senju Hashirama now believed in this young man's background. The power you use is something even I have never seen before. It's not a tailed beast, it's not what senjutsu is, it's something that doesn't exist in this world, right? Senju Tobirama's expression changed. This unknown power made him feel a little wary. So, he suddenly put his hands together and formed a seal. Immortal magic surges out. Immortal magic. Thousands of hands. I saw a huge Guanyin statue rising directly from the ground. The Guanyin statue with countless arms crushed the wooden figure just now and appeared on the ridge of the roof. In this kind of terrain, there is no way to make it bigger. Senju Hashirama said calmly, but it should be enough to deal with you, right? Zanu sneered. Come and try, my taste of nothingness. The figure moved like a ghost, and appeared in front of Senju Hashirama in a matter of seconds. The two dark swords in Susanoo's hands slashed hard again. I saw the Guanyin statue instantly resisting with countless arms. Senju Hashirama stretched out his hands and poured the magic chakra in his body into the Guanyin statue. The two sides are just at a stalemate. This kind of battle is no longer at a level where Tobirama and Minato can intervene. Although Senju Hashirama's celestial arts are very powerful. However, Zanu's dark chakra is swallowing up the magic of the first Hokage all the time. As the magic becomes stronger, so does the dark chakra. I do not know how long it has been. The strength of both parties was finally exhausted. The dilapidated Guanyin statue has very few arms left. Senju Hashirama was panting and unable to use any more strength. Although you can condense brand new chakra as long as you take a short rest. But in the battle, he had already lost. On the opposite side, Zanu's Susanoo was still entangled with a wisp of black energy. Zanu's expression was still calm. Seeing this scene, Senju Hashirama smiled bitterly. Sure enough, you win, young man. After saying that, he sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes. Ding! The mission is all completed. The first Hokage, the second Hokage, and the fourth Hokage have been defeated. Get the wood release clone, the ultimate water attribute, and the perfect Jinchuriki body. Zanu took a deep breath. These rewards are what he dreams of. The first is wood release. With this clone, he can use the most powerful wood release to fight against the enemy. Even if he encounters a tailed beast, he can still be invincible. Although there is no magic now, it is impossible to use thousands of hands like the previous generation. But it's powerful enough. At the same time, the ultimate water attribute enhances the power of water escape. The perfect Jinchuriki is a physical aptitude that can be perfectly integrated with any tailed beast. Exhale slowly. Zanu also swayed. If it hadn't been for the dark chakra just now, he would never have been able to suppress the first Hokage. Besides, he will win because he still takes advantage of the terrain. If it were on flat ground, you would have won. Zanu said calmly to Yi Yi. Just now, Senju Hashirama deliberately restrained his strength in order not to create an overly large Guanyin statue that would cause the destruction of Konoha village. As long as he wanted to, he deliberately created the 1,000-armed Avalokitesvara statue that filled the entire Konoha village. It is dozens of times greater than the power of the Kyuubi. The Guanyin statue just now was only 1/10 of his full strength, but after being eroded by Zanu's dark chakra, the chakra could only be slowly devoured. If you lose, you lose. There is nothing to say. Senju Hashirama blinked and smiled. The strength of a strong person is fearless at any time and place. This is the real strong person. After saying this, Senju Hashirama only used one move of wood escape to catch the two people fighting on the other side. Orochimaru and the third Hokage never decided the winner. Senju Hashirama smiled and said, Orochimaru, to be honest, we can't defeat this young man. So, please untie the dirt and reincarnate, and then surrender. There was a moment of shock on Orochimaru's face at first. He didn't expect that Zanu could actually be more powerful than these fire shadows. At the same time, I also felt deeply dangerous about my situation. Orochimaru, do you still want to escape this time? Zanu raised her eyebrows. Orochimaru knew that his fate would be miserable. Last time in the country of waves, I played Zanu. If he was caught this time, he might not be able to eat and would be carried away. Ha ha ha, do you think I, Orochimaru, will be caught by you? I saw Orochimaru shed a layer of skin in an instant, turned into a white snake and was about to escape from the barrier. But Zanu made a decisive decision and immediately approached with the flying thunder god, and then used the power of the god to bring Orochimaru into the space of the power of the god. This is. Orochimaru looked at the dark world around him and felt a sense of fear. All contact with the outside world was instantly cut off. When I have time, I'll settle the accounts. Before this, you were in a place like this, think about it. After saying that, Zanu disappeared instantly. Externally, Konoha village was also in chaos. Shukaku ran away not far from Konoha. Gaara used the false sleeping technique to force the tailed beast to occupy the main body. And 3 big snakes are also wreaking havoc in the village. Seeing that the 3 Hokages were still alive, Zanu thought it was because Orochimaru could not release the earth reincarnation technique in the Kamui space. It is even more impossible to control them from the inside. So, he said to the 3 Hokages, you're here, why don't you help us clean up the miscellaneous fish? The first generation, the second generation, and the fourth generation were all stunned when they heard this. The third generation then briefly told the 3 of them the changes that were happening in Konoha. Senju Hashirama smiled and said, haha, what's so difficult about this? It's just Shukaku. After saying that, Senju Hashirama stood up, his chakra had been restored. Turning to the place where Shukaku appeared, he said calmly, Tobirama, go deal with those 3 snakes Minato and take me there. Minato nodded quickly, of course. Use the flying thunder magic and rush over there quickly. Tobirama's body has also recovered and he began to deal with the 3 rampaging psychic beasts. Zanu didn't even need to take action herself. These previous Hokages dealt with Konoha's troubles one by one. About a few hours later, all the Sand Ninja and Sound Ninja were firmly controlled by Konoha. Only Kabuto Yakushi escaped and was not caught. Including Gaara's trio, they also calmed down at this moment. Shukaku had been completely suppressed by the terrifying power of the first Hokage. I think there must be some misunderstanding in this, Sandai said while smoking his pipe. Your Kazekage is actually Orochimaru in disguise. The 4th Kazekage is the father of Gaara, Temari and Kankuro. The 3 of them were not obviously shocked when they heard the news of their father's death, which shows that their families must have had many misfortunes. The higher-ups among the Sand Ninjas also realized that Orochimaru was instigating all this. Start praying for reconciliation in Konoha. After a long period of mediation, Sandai finally did not pursue these Sand Ninjas. After all, they were ordinary ninjas who were deceived, and there was no need to further intensify the conflict. So, what should the Sound Ninja do? Kakashi asked. Oto-nin is the village founded by Orochimaru. Zanu knew that the village was established with Kato's money. The village is full of cruel human experiments and inhumane regulations. As a result, that village has become somewhat abnormal. Saw Sark, Toss and King being captured. Zanu smiled lightly and said, you were really lucky to have saved a life this time. Under Schwanu's interference, Orochimaru did not use these 3 people as living sacrifices. They also escaped death. What should I do with the Sound Ninja? What do you think, former Hokages? The 3rd generation is obviously looking towards the 1st and 2nd generations. Both of them shook their heads. Sarutobi, now that you are the Hokage, it is best for you to decide. Tobirama said seriously. The third generation was in trouble. It wouldn't be very humane to kill all the sound ninjas. But if the sound ninja were put back, they would become cruel again under Orochimaru's rule. It's hard to say that it won't cause any trouble in the ninja world. At this time, Zanu suddenly spoke. I am willing to take over this village. What do you think? Zanu asked. The expressions of the people present changed drastically. Someone is actually willing to manage Sound Ninja. That was a village of desperados. The third generation coughed twice and asked, Xuanyu, are you sure you want to manage the Sound Ninja? That is not a good job, and there is no good reward. I can get through it safely this time, thanks to your help. I think there is no need for you to perform this kind of drudgery. The third generation naturally wanted to give Zanu more benefits. Don't let him do such tiring work. But Zanu shook her head. Don't forget that Sound Ninja is Orochimaru's lair, and Orochimaru happens to be in my hands. If I control them, I will naturally get benefits that satisfy me. You don't have to worry about this. Sandai thought hard for a while and finally nodded. Okay then, I'll let you take charge of the Sound Ninja, but please take responsibility and at least don't let them harm anyone again. In this way, Zanu obtained the control of the Sound Ninja from the hands of the third generation. He blinked at the trio of Sound Ninjas. You will be mine from now on. Zanu smiled. Toss and Sark both had black lines on their faces. When Jin heard this, he blushed a little. Next, the third generation spent a few days sending all the Sound Ninja and Sand Ninja back. Not only that, Konoha also became a good person and helped them rebuild the village. Send operational personnel who are good at management to develop the economy. In general, this time Orochimaru's attack on Konoha is over. In the office, there are only 3 generations and Zanu. The third generation showed a sly look. I still had many misunderstandings about you before. I didn't expect that you knew Orochimaru's plan a long time ago and only came to intervene. I once doubted you, which offended me so much. The attitudes of the third generation have changed really quickly. But Zanu didn't want to argue with him. Our monthly organization always does things from beginning to end. If we want to harm you Konoha, we will never beat around the bush. Zanu said lightly. After hearing this, Sandai was also sweating profusely. Zanu didn't take Konoha seriously, still in front of this Hokage. Sandai forced a smile and said, Anyway, I'm glad to see that the Moon Organization remains friendly towards Konoha for the time being. Tell me, what kind of thank you gift do you want? As long as I can approve it, I can give it to you. This is already the greatest sincerity that the 3 generations can show. Take what you want. Obviously he wanted to please Zanu. Well, let me think about it. Zanu suddenly thought, then, give me permission to enter Myoboku Mountain to practice. The third generation was stunned. Although Myoboku Mountain is considered a divine realm, it belongs to the public domain. However, it has always been controlled by Konoha. The immortals of Mt. Myoboku also favored the ninjas of Konoha. Overall, it's a backdoor relationship. 3 generations are in trouble. You want to go to Mt. Myoboku. This may be beyond my authority. If you just simply obtain the qualification of a psychic beast, it couldn't be easier. It's just that if you want to practice immortality, you must get permission from the advisor. I think I can give you an answer tomorrow. Zanu sneered. I'll give you 1 day, but even if you don't approve, I still have a way to get in. After saying that, he disappeared into the office. The third generation sighed. Speaking of Konoha's heritage, it is indeed huge. However, those rare forbidden arts, Zanu should be able to master them. The only remaining ones are probably the celestial arts of Kyuubi and Mount Miyuki. The third generation was really lucky that Zanu didn't ask him for the Kyuubi. After returning, Zanu came to Konoha's memorial tablet. I saw Kakashi Hatake who was mourning. Kakashi, why are you still here this evening? Zanu asked. Kakashi was stunned. It's not just a sudden thought. Zanu chuckled lightly and said with a casual move, look who I brought back. Standing behind Zanu was the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. That is, Kakashi Hatake's teacher back then. Teacher Minato-sensei. Kakashi's eyes widened, but he immediately felt that this was the reincarnated body of the dirt. Because at this moment, Namikaze Minato did not exude a human aura. Kakashi, long time no see. Namikaze Minato smiled and said hello as before. Kakashi's thoughts were instantly brought back decades ago. My mind couldn't help but think of all the lost bonds and the cause and effect of the battle at Kanobi Bridge. Zanu knows. The entire plot of Naruto basically revolves around the bond between Kakashi, Obito and Lin. If there had been no Obito, Madara would not have been able to carry out the resurrection plan. Madara's resurrection has a lot to do with Obito's death. Sure enough, as soon as the two met, the atmosphere fell into solemnity. Now, Lin and Obito are no longer here. Kakashi, I'm glad to see you are still alive. Namikaze Minato smiled. Kakashi has changed a lot over the years. From the previous inhumanity and coldness to a somewhat greasy teacher, it can be considered an earth-shaking change. But deep down in his heart, there was still the determined Kakashi. It was just covered up by my usual relaxed smile. Kakashi, you must have been having a rough time over the past few years. Seeing Kakashi, who was accustomed to standing in front of the commemorative monument, Minato already understood. It's all over, Kakashi said calmly. It's thanks to genjutsu that we can meet. Namikaze Minato smiled. If it weren't for him, the third generation wouldn't have let me come out. The third generation deliberately did this in order to reduce one enemy. This time, because Orochimaru used the Earth reincarnation, it was not released in time. Before that, Zanu was caught in the divine power space. As a result, the first, second, and fourth generations have never been sent back to their original world. As a result, how to place them naturally becomes a problem. They don't need to live like normal people, but walking around the village at will is not an option. Still, the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, made a decision. We have already passed away, and we will not appear in front of you before slowly disappearing. But if there is an emergency, you can go to the Valley of the End and look for us. So, the first and second generations went to the Valley of the End and lived in seclusion. They will continue to live until Orochimaru's technique is lifted. This is the terrible thing about reincarnation. The fourth generation was taken around the village by Zanu. After all, the fourth generation is younger and is really interested in some changes in the village. While walking around, Yondaime saw a blonde boy walking towards him. Zanu almost laughed and passed away. Isn't this Naruto? It seems that this time the Yondaime and Naruto are going to meet father and son. The first time he saw Naruto, Namikaze Minato narrowed his eyes. He seemed to be scrutinizing something, and it seemed that he was already somewhat suspicious. Could that be Naruto? Minato Namikaze asked Zanu quietly. Zanu nodded with a smile and shouted to Naruto. Naruto, come here and show you something good. Hearing Zanu calling him, Naruto quickly followed. Xuanyu had taught him a lot of ninjutsu, and Naruto was very grateful to him. Come and see, this is your dad. Before Minato Namikaze could react, Zanu had already revealed this shocking fact. Namikaze Minato was so frightened that he quickly covered Zanu's mouth, but was easily dodged by him. Naruto's eyes glazed over. Is this strange blonde man in front of me his father? You, the fourth Hokage. Are you really my father? Naruto gritted his teeth and seemed angry. Because if Minato Namikaze hadn't sealed the demon fox into Naruto's body, maybe Naruto wouldn't have been so neglected in his childhood. If he hadn't died, Naruto wouldn't have had a lonely childhood. So Naruto's first reaction was anger. Sorry. Namikaze Minato lowered his head. You must have suffered a lot, right? I heard this fact acknowledged by myself. Naruto couldn't bear it anymore and actually cried. The fourth generation is also very guilty about this. But, he had to do it at that time. For the safety and peace of the village, as Hokage, he had the obligation to sacrifice his life to protect it. Even if it means risking the life of his wife and the fate of his children, he will not hesitate to do so. Zanu knew that Naruto was just gambling. After all, his fate was not one that could be laughed off and forgiven. Sure enough, after a moment of reunion between father and son, the tension dissipated. Now that you are back, you must teach me the most handsome ninjutsu. Naruto said. Yondaime smiled and nodded. He never thought that he would have the opportunity to fulfill the responsibilities of a father. No problem, Naruto. I will teach you everything, including how to control the demon fox. The fourth generation said with confidence. Then, he turned to Zanu. Zanu, can you do me a favor? I didn't plan to stay in this world for too long. But now I want to live as long as possible in order to fulfill the unfinished responsibilities of a father. Seeing Minato's request, Zanu nodded. In fact, as long as the reincarnation in Dirty Earth is not lifted, it can continue forever. It's just that Orochimaru, the magician, has to stay in good condition at all times. I promise you, Minato, don't worry. Zanu said lightly. From then on, the news that Naruto's father was Namikaze Minato spread almost all over the country. At least the entire genin of Konoha were moved by it. In fact, the adults in Konoha are very aware of this matter. It's just that the new generation of ninjas don't know Naruto's identity. For a moment, those guys who looked down on Naruto in the past felt regretful. Naturally, some of these people are very unbalanced. Sasuke is one of them. He originally thought that Naruto had a similar experience to himself, that they were both orphans without fathers and mothers. But now, Naruto suddenly has a father. Still such a heavyweight. Sasuke felt a little disappointed in his heart. Zanu naturally noticed this. However, he wouldn't leave Sasuke confused for long. After dealing with the Akatsuki organization, Uchiha Itachi will be able to reunite with Sasuke, just like Naruto and his son are now. In the evening, Xuanyu finally had the mood to take a look at Orochimaru. After saying that, he came to the divine space in a blink of an eye. It's dark on all sides here, and Orochimaru is being held tightly here. How long do you want to lock me up? Orochimaru asked fiercely. I will lock you in until you accept it. Zanu sneered. Orochimaru looked at Zanu with resentment. Unexpectedly, who was always good at escaping, fell into Zanu's hands. It has to be said that he is the person who knows Zanu's strength best. At that time, the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn were reincarnated by the Dirty Earth, and it was Zanu who suppressed them. Moreover, it kills with one move. But he originally thought that Zanu was only at that level. Unexpectedly, when he was so fierce, even the 3 previous Hokages were no match for him. Terrible, Orochimaru grinned and said with a forced smile. Let me out, Zanu, I won't treat you badly. I will provide you with the technology you want, and I also have the money. As long as you let me out. Seeing Orochimaru reduced to this, he actually dared to negotiate terms with him. Zanu couldn't help but find it funny. You are really playing with fire, Orochimaru. Are you planning to leave a note this time to trick me? Orochimaru lowered his head, feeling fear from Zanu's Sharingan eyes. This Naoba Sharingan is indeed not something he can deal with. Being sealed into this divine space, all his escape ninjutsu became useless. Xuanyu, what do you think of this? Orochimaru forced a smile. Who do you want to resurrect? I can help you. Unexpectedly, as soon as Orochimaru finished speaking, Zanu's fist came over. Zanu calls chakra into the muscles. He used a force that was close to a magical force. He beat Orochimaru so hard that he collapsed on the ground, really like a rotten snake. You still don't understand the situation, Orochimaru. I'm not someone you can manipulate, do you understand me? Zanu said lightly. Orochimaru was hit by this punch and could not get up for a long time. He is not a man who gives in easily. It can be said that throughout the entirety of Naruto's works, Orochimaru has never surrendered to anyone. He was only sealed once by Itachi with the Shakuan sword, but even then, he was able to resurrect from the curse seal. Therefore, Orochimaru is somewhat confident. So, what do you want? Orochimaru sneered, you have to keep me here forever. It won't be good for you either. Besides, you can't kill me at all. Do you believe it? Maintaining his usual confidence, Orochimaru said this. His forbidden skills have been studied to the extreme and have transcended life and death. That's why he had the courage to talk to Zanu like this. But Zanu knew very well what Orochimaru was thinking in his heart. Isn't it because he can be resurrected that he can be so arrogant? Zanu sneered and said, I don't know how many curse seals you have placed outside. But, I will keep you locked up here until all the curse marks left on you are destroyed. As long as you do that, your death will be a real death. Zanu said, showing a sinister smile. Fear immediately appeared in Orochimaru's eyes. Has your trump card been revealed? How did that kid know that he could be resurrected from the cursed seal? You know a lot. Although Orochimaru was mentally prepared, he didn't expect Zanu to understand this. In this case, he could only obey. Because, it can be seen from Zanu's eyes that he is the kind of person who will fight to the death with him. Orochimaru sighed and put away his treacherous look. It was the first time he spoke to someone in such a humble tone. What do you want me to do? Tell me. As long as you give me a way to survive, anything is fine. Orochimaru was really scared this time. In order to survive, he and Zanu were so humble. Fortunately, this is in the Shinwei space. If word spread, I don't know how embarrassing it would be. I want you to become a slave of the U organization. Zanu sneered, I want you to do research for me here day and night. Orochimaru became angry when he heard this. You want to lock me here forever? In that case, I might as well die. Zanu smiled playfully and said, then just die, how about that? Orochimaru seemed to choke upon hearing this, and had no choice but to wilt. Immediately afterwards, Zanu released a bloody aura of disaster. Susanoo emerged from behind him. The Shakuan sword was held in Zanu's hand. Last time, he had already obtained Itachi's three-piece suit. As long as he wanted to, he could directly seal Orochimaru here. Then, as long as the curse seals on Anko, Sound Ninja and others are removed, Orochimaru will not be able to be resurrected. All this couldn't be simpler for Zanu. Orochimaru said in embarrassment. However, the working environment here is really difficult for people to survive. Although he said that he can do anything, it is too difficult. Zanu smiled and continued. Whatever you want, I can move it in for you. If you have any living needs, they are all put forward. Even if this divine space is built into a palace, it's none of my business. At this point, Orochimaru became a little tempted. However, he raised his head and looked at Zanu and said, you are already strong enough. What do you want me to study? Zanu turned her back. I want to tap your potential, don't you understand? Continue to study according to your concept, and what I need is the result. I'm not going to tie you down to studying something specific. Hearing Zanu's words, Orochimaru almost felt a surge of ecstasy in his heart. You actually didn't restrict my research. Orochimaru was stunned. I thought you were like the kid from Konoha, wanting to go against me everywhere. Orochimaru was kicked out of the village because of his research on forbidden arts. Now being displaced is also a last resort. He didn't expect that Zanu would actually agree with his science, and he couldn't help but feel touched in his heart. Your research still has merit, put aside those disgusting curse seals. Zanu said with a smile, your use of corpses and life can make some breakthroughs again. I think you can try to study artificial humans or something. Orochimaru added. Then my research requires experimental subjects. You must get me living subjects. Zanu smiled and said, what's so difficult about this? There are so many evil people in the ninja world now. My monthly organization will capture these people and send them to you as test subjects. Orochimaru nodded and said excitedly, in that case, I am willing to work here. Just, can you let me go out for a few days occasionally? Zanu refused righteously. It was definitely lucky to catch Orochimaru this time. Apart from locking Orochimaru into Kamui space, he could not think of any other way to imprison Orochimaru in a foolproof way. Don't think about it, just settle down with peace of mind. Zanu snickered. Soon, Konoha settled down. The battle itself suffered very few casualties, so the reconstruction work was completed quickly. It's time for the third Hokage to fulfill his promise. On this day, several major advisors of Konoha and Zanu gathered in the office. Among them, Jiraiya and the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato were also included. In short, the more important people are here. The reason is to discuss whether Zanu can be allowed to enter Myoboku Mountain for training. Present here are two of Konoha's top advisors, Mito Kabuto and Kaharu Kaharu. Both of them are elders of Konoha and have the right to decide on this matter. I invite you all here today to judge whether Zanu should be allowed to enter Myoboku Mountain for training. The third Hokage said slowly. The expressions of those present were serious, and their eyes were focused on Zanu. Zanu didn't feel uncomfortable at all and ignored these glances at all. The third generation sighed. Then let me express my opinion first. In fact, I personally agree, because Konoha's victory this time is closely related to Zanu's contribution. If you want to go to Myoboku Mountain to practice, we should agree to this, just a return gift. At this time, Mito Menyon pushed up his glasses. Of course I am very grateful to Zanu for his help, but he is a ninja from Iwagakure village. There is always something wrong with this. I hope Hokage-sama will reconsider. Xiaochun said the same thing when he went to bed. The third generation said calmly. Although Zanu wears a forehead protector from Iwagakure, as far as I know, he once belonged to a ninja village called Tangakure. Then it was related to Kurigakure village. All in all, Zanu is not a ninja who belongs to a certain village. What else do Mito Kabuto and Kaharu want to argue about? But Yondaime spoke. Everyone, please listen to me. People like Zanu should go to Myoboku Mountain. He is a genius. I am really sorry to see that such a genius cannot go to Myoboku Mountain to practice. His cultivation in immortal magic will definitely surpass that of Master Jiraiya and me. Jiraiya was drunk and his face was red. Facing Zanu's threatening gaze, he naturally agreed. Don't be so rigid. Zanu's strength is very strong even if she doesn't practice. This time it's just to give Konoha some face and offer some rewards so that you don't look so ugly. As expected of a drunk Jiraiya, his words were really to the point. Although it makes Konoha a little embarrassed, it is true. Zanu wants to enter Myoboku Mountain in 10,000 ways. This time, it was just a matter of smooth sailing. I think so. Sandai smiled bitterly. Then, I hereby announce that I agree to Zanu's entry. Do you have any objections? Suddenly, a roar like a dragon bell came from outside the door. I disagree. I saw an old man walking on a cane and with half of his body wrapped in bandages walking into the room. He was so arrogant and domineering that he didn't pay attention to the people in the living room at all. Danzo, what are you doing here? The third Hokage was a little unhappy. Danzo simply ignored his orders and acted on his own initiative. But he couldn't say anything to Danzo. After all, Konoha was already involved with Danzo too much. Its root organization has penetrated the entire Anbu. It can be said that Danzo's power covers half of Konoha. Therefore, it is obvious that the third generation is Hokage. In the darkness, Danzo was another Hokage. You want to give the Myoboku Mountain's cultivation qualifications to this outsider. Are you so comfortable that you don't even care about your own life? Danzo said coldly. What's going on, Danzo? Jiraiya asked dissatisfied. Danzo looked at Zanu and replied coldly. This Chenkage Xuanyu is the leader of the U organization. He has done countless things in the ninja world that you can't even imagine. As long as he is happy, everything can be destroyed. Now he just has a slightly better attitude towards you. Do you think he is really with you? His strength is already very troublesome, but if we add Senjutsu chakra to it, and we use all the power of Konoha, I'm afraid it won't be possible to stop him. Danzo's words touched the hearts of Mito Kaden and Kaharu. At this critical moment, Danzo was still thinking about the overall situation. So, they also stood up and followed Danzo to protest against the third generation's decision. He must not be allowed to enter MT. Myoboku, Mito Kaden and Kaharu said. Wait a minute, it's 3 votes to 3 now. Namikaze Minato said hurriedly. 3 votes. Danzo sneered. You and Jiraiya are no longer Konoha ninjas, so what qualifications do you have to speak? You guy, Jiraiya said angrily, but it was hard to get angry. Danzo's power is truly worthy of its name if it wants to run amok in Konoha. It's just that he is usually very low-key. But if Gen is to mobilize in full force, another coup in Konoha may break out. Just as the situation was tense, Zanu burst out laughing. Duanzo, I finally see you. But I just don't know. Are you serious about provoking me as soon as you come out? Zanu's eyes were full of threats. But Danzo responded with an old look and said calmly, even if you kill me, I don't care. Everything I do is to protect Konoha. It has nothing to do with your personal grudges. This is very beautifully said. But it's just a little too beautiful. Zanu sneered. Protect Konoha. Then let me ask you, where were you when the third generation was assassinated by Orochimaru? Where were you when Shukaku was wreaking havoc? More than 10 years ago, when the demon fox killed Namikaze Minato and his wife, where were you hiding? These few questions made it impossible for Danzo to remain calm on his face. He stretched out his crutch and pointed at Zanu and said angrily, "What do you know? Over the past few decades, I have dedicated everything to the village. How can you, an outsider, tell me whether I am right or wrong?" Zanu sneered. "You keep saying you want to protect the village, but you are just satisfying your own selfish desires. From the beginning to the end, you are dealing with your own people. Don't force me to reveal what happened to the Uchiha clan back then." Danzo trembled when he heard the Uchiha clan. That night, he did too many things. Not only did he take away Shisui's Sharingan, but he also collected a lot of Sharingan from the Uchiha clan. So far, that is a secret that only he knows. Why does this kid seem to have experienced it personally? "Sarutobi, we can't get rid of this person," Danzo said coldly. "He already knows too many things about Konoha." Zanu waved. "I would like to see what kind of threat you can bring to me, Danzo. You who only bully your own people, how dare you take action against me, an outsider?" Danzo was directly slapped in the face by Zanu, and his dimmed one eye showed an angry look. Throwing away the crutches, he actually wanted to do it indoors. Wind escape, vacuum breaking, a fierce gale, a blade like a sickle and a weasel, came towards Zanu. None of the senior executives present expected that Danzo would really dare to fight Zanu here. However, Zanu didn't take this mere feng dun seriously at all. Although, this is the wind escape that Danzo is always very good at using. However, in his eyes, it seemed like a child's play. Void. Zanu's body instantly turned into a shadow, and she used her divine power to avoid the wind blade. The wind blade passed through him, directly shattering the windows of the Hokage tower and flying into the air. Danzo's expression didn't change much. Regarding Zanu's ability, he had already thought of this step. "Is it useful?" Zanu said coldly, the blood in her eyes already spreading. Everyone present felt Zanu's cold murderous aura. After all, they have experienced it firsthand. "As an outsider, I can't let you here and trample on the dignity of Konoha." Danzo snorted coldly. Zanu naturally knew what made Danzo so confident. It's because of his hidden Shisui Sharingan and Hashirama Cell's right arm. On that right arm, 16 Sharingan eyes were transplanted, allowing Danzo to use Izanagi almost unlimitedly. In theory, Danzo can make himself invincible against anyone. But to deal with Danzo, Zanu still has many methods. "You are really courageous, Danzo." Zanu smiled. "Do you think that since this is Konoha, I won't dare to kill you?" Zanu stretched out her hand, and her long arm instantly turned into a giant tree. The huge tree trunk pressed Danzo against the door frame, preventing him from moving. Everyone present was shocked. Wood escape. Why does Zanu, who doesn't have Hashirama cells, use wood escape? Such questions arise spontaneously. Danzo's expression worsened. He said calmly, "Did you see that, Sarutobi? If you continue to indulge him, everything in Konoha will be taken away by him." Sarutobi coughed twice and asked, "Zanu, how did you learn wood release?" Zanu smiled faintly. "No comment on that. Excuse me, Sandame-sama, can I kill this kid?" Zanu was naturally pointing to Danzo in front of him. Unexpectedly, Danzo smiled sinisterly and said, "Kill me. Try it." Just as Zanu was about to take action, a group of senior officials came to dissuade her. Jiraiya said, "Schwanyu, you must think twice first. If you kill Danzo, this will no longer be a matter between two people." Yondaime also said, "Although Danzo's way of doing things is very unpleasant, please be patient." Finally, Sarutobi also spoke up. "Schwanyu, don't be impulsive. If Danzo provokes you, I will handle it satisfactorily for you. But after all, he is an indispensable part of Konoha. Can you please be generous and let him go?" Zanu smiled and looked at Danzo. "What should I do? It seems that your colleagues are interceding on your behalf." Danzo became even more angry when he saw this. A bunch of spineless guys. They actually kowtow to an outsider. Konoha's face has been completely embarrassed by you. The third generation immediately stopped Danzo. "Danzo, shut up." There was very serious anger on the third generation's face. Danzo also calmed down. Snort. Danzo just snorted and stopped talking. On the surface, one cannot be too disrespectful to the third generation. The third generation finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Danzo did not continue to anger Zanu. Then he raised his head and asked, Zanu, can you promise me? Zanu naturally wanted to kill Danzo. At least Danzo must be punished severely. However, if someone really takes action here, everyone's faces won't look too good. Therefore, Zanu released Mudun. Duanzo, you were lucky, so many people are rushing to protect you. In that case, I'll let you go. After saying that, Zanu sneered and let go of Danzo. Being so humiliated by Zanu, Danzo's face seemed to be covered with a layer of black mist. He snorted coldly and left the room. Well, Sandai let out a long sigh. As a colleague at that time, the third generation also had no choice but to do anything to Danzo. He always believed that Danzo had good intentions but had twisted emotions towards Konoha. Zanu, you must not take it to heart. After this incident, I will teach Danzo a lesson. He just can't trust you for the time being. The third generation explained, but Jiraiya knew that Zanu was definitely a very vengeful person. Today, it was Zanu's great kindness to be able to let Danzo go. Zanu, who is bound to retaliate, does not like anyone in the world. Sure enough, Zanu said coldly. No need to say any more, Sandai. As long as this happens again, I will kill him without hesitation. Sandai coughed twice and nodded. After all, Zanu was the one who directly challenged the three great Hokage in front of him. Naturally, I dare not disrespect him. Okay, Zanu, I support you in entering Myoboku Mountain. Jiraiya patted Zanu on the shoulder. The fourth generation also smiled and said, if it is Zanu, she will definitely be able to learn all the immortal arts. Faced with the support of the two, Zanu also responded with a smile. Zanu will naturally not hold any grudges against people who are kind to him. On the contrary, he will help them secretly. For example, Zanu helped a lot with Kakashi's team. As for those who can't stand him, there is no need to show mercy at all. Okay, you two consultants have no objections, right? Jiraiya said. After switching to bed, Kaharu and Mito Kadoyan naturally lowered their heads. They are only able to sit here because of their seniority. In itself, it has no strength. Okay, Zanu and we Konoha are not that stingy. The third generation smiled warmly. I approve, you can enter Myoboku Mountain to practice, and get all the resources we provide. Zanu smiled. Zanu will naturally remember Konoha's kindness. I can promise that from now on, I will not start a war with Konoha. After hearing this, Sandai's face finally became excited. Because for Zanu, this is a very happy promise. In this way, the worry that Zanu was previously regarded as a threat no longer needs to exist. Thank you, Zanu. I hope our relationship with the U organization will get better and better in the future. Sandai stood up and shook hands with Zanu. Then, I will take you to Mt. Myoboku. Jiraiya smiled. Jiraiya brought Zanu to an open space outside Konoha. Namikaze Minato took Naruto to practice. Jiraiya helped Zanu enter Myoboku Mountain. Actually, it's very easy to get to Mt. Myoboku. Jiraiya said, like you, it's very simple if you have already obtained the qualification of a psychic beast. After saying that, Jiraiya began to form seals. Psychic art. Toaji was instantly channeled. The huge toad is almost like a tall building. What did Jiraiya ask me to do? Gamaji asked. Take us back to Mt. Myoboku. Jiraiya ordered. Hamaji looked at Zanu and his eyes widened instantly. Isn't this the kid who channeled 3 of our brothers at the same time? Do you want to take him to the immortal? Jiraiya nodded. Hamaji glanced at Zanu complicatedly. I didn't expect that Zanu would also practice immortality. It was scary to think about it. Zanu is the first person who can make Hamaji feel terrible. Why, aren't you willing? Zanu sneered. No, no. Hamaji waved his hands quickly. After speaking, Hamaji pointed to his mouth. You two come into my mouth, and as long as I go back, you will go back with me. Jiraiya nodded. See, it's that simple. But without me as an introducer, you might encounter many obstacles in the mountains. Zanu can also understand. Although he is very strong, he still has to be restrained in Myoboku Mountain. After all, that was the place where Otsutsuki Hagoromo once practiced. Let's go, Zanu said. The two of them entered Hamaji's mouth together, and then released the psychic spell. He only felt a shaking around him, and Hamaji opened his mouth again. Here we are, MT. Myoboku is here. Jiraiya came down skillfully. Zanu also jumped down. Is this MT? Myoboku. Zanu looked around and saw a very primitive mountain forest. The place is filled with fresh air, and the feeling of breathing it into the lungs seems to make people fascinated. Huge trees, banana leaves, and huge toad statues are full of divine meaning. Here, the air seems to be full of magical energy, which is fascinating. I haven't been back for a long time. Jiraiya stretched. Let's go, I'll take you to meet your friends in Myoboku Mountain. Walking in MT. Myoboku with Jiraiya and Gamaji. All around, there are huge toad sculptures everywhere. Some small animals that Zanu had never seen were running around in the jungle. It is indeed a good place. Zanu smiled. Being able to practice here for 8 years, it is no wonder that Jiraiya was able to enter an otherworldly realm. This is not only a place suitable for cultivation, but also a place suitable for cultivating the mind. By the way, Gamaji, you don't have a contracted master yet, do you? Jiraiya asked casually. Hamaji nodded. I'm still practicing, and I'm not qualified to stand alone. Jiraiya thought for a moment. I plan to let Naruto practice here in the future. You will be a good candidate at that time. Before that, please practice well for me, Hamaji. Hamaji nodded ignorantly. His cultivation progress was quite different from other clans. I don't know why Jiraiya values him so much. Is it because he is Gamabunta's son? Zanu naturally knew that Hamaji was Naruto's contracted Hama. There is also great potential in the future. Hamaji, work hard. Zanu said casually. Hamaji seems to respect or fear Zanu very much. Hearing Zanu encourage him so much, he suddenly became excited. Thank you for your guidance. Jiraiya said with a dark look on his face. Why do you respect him more than you do me? Hamaji smiled and said, that's natural. Zanu's strength has been spread in Myoboku Mountain. No one has ever been able to summon the 3 great generals of MT. Myoboku at the same time. You know, the combined power of those 3 uncles is comparable to that of a tailed beast. As he spoke, he came to the place where the toad immortal live. Fukasaku and Shima appeared in front of several people. This toad couple is the personal bodyguard of Immortal Toad and is very powerful. Able to cooperate with Jiraiya to use extremely powerful magic. Although he is not as huge as Wentai, he is more skilled in magic. Jiraiya brat, why do you have time to come back? Fukasaku was stunned. Jujian immediately reprimanded. You old fool, come back and see what's wrong with the child. Will you die if you don't say a few words? It seems that this toad couple regards Jiraiya as a son. At the same time, they saw Zanu. Oh, could this be the young man who channeled the 3 generals of Myoboku Mountain at the same time that day? Fukasaku said in surprise. I didn't expect you to actually come to practice. Zanu nodded. He smiled and said, the magic of Myoboku Mountain is famous all over the world. It is very reasonable for me to practice it, right? Fukasaku touched his chin. Then he smiled slyly. Then, you must be mentally prepared. The trial at Myoboku Mountain is not only difficult, but also very dangerous. Like he said, Mount Myoboku has been around for so many years. There are only a few people who have truly mastered the art of immortality. Zanu smiled faintly. Whether I turn into a toad or be shattered into pieces, I am ready. Fukasaku was stunned. I thought, how did he know that if he failed, he would be turned into a stone toad statue? Zanu continued. I'm afraid those toad statues on the road just now are real losers, right? Fukasaku Shima was surprised at the same time. Jiraiya, did you tell him? Jiraiya shook his head. Then, he smiled bitterly. Fukasaku, Shima, Zanu often does this, just get used to it. Zanu said sternly. Then, when can I meet the clam immortal? Fukasaku and Shima sneered. Want to see Toad immortal? It's still very early. You must first go through the test of our couple before you can be allowed to practice. Zanu was quite happy to hear that there was going to be a trial. Trial, interesting. I want to see how difficult your trial is. Fukasaku and Shima took Zanu under a waterfall. The terrain here is wide and there are almost no obstacles. It's very suitable for some weird trials. Jiraiya, you didn't remind me about the Xuanyu trial, did you? Fukasaku asked. Jiraiya smiled bitterly. How could I not know that the content of each trial changes? It's useless to remind you. Fukasaku smiled and said, it's good that you know. If you want to come to Myoboku Mountain to practice, there is absolutely no shortcut. Please be mentally prepared for me. Zanu smiled lightly. There's so much nonsense, come on over. Fukasaku and Shima began to tell them about the trial. If you want to practice magic, you must first use the energy of the human body to its limit before you can do it. So the most basic thing is that we will test the indicators of your 3 major abilities, ninjutsu, illusion, and taijutsu. If you can't even meet these standards, then unfortunately, you have no possibility of practicing immortality. Hearing is just a test of 3 basics. Zanu naturally didn't take it seriously. It sounds very depressing. Jiraiya was a little scared as he listened. Zanu is a guy who is not afraid of anything. He actually dares to provoke Fukasaku and Shima, 2 masters of Myoboku Mountain. You must know that their strength is second only to totem mortal. Humph, let's see if you still have the strength to say these words after a while. Fukasaku snorted coldly. The first item is the physical skills test. After saying that, he faced this huge waterfall. Then with a casual move, a huge toad fell from the sky. This toad carries 2 double swords on its back. It is Toad Guang who was once channeled by Zanu. However, this waterfall is larger than Togeguang's body. Compared with Zanu, the size of the waterfall is simply unimaginable. See this waterfall, what you have to do is to split it open like Toad Hero. Show him. Toad Guang pulled out his 2 swords and said, yes. As one of the 3 major combat powers of Mount Myoboku, Tomohiro would definitely not be embarrassed in front of Zanu. After all, the last time the 3 brothers were suppressed by Zanu alone, it was enough to lose face. This time at home, we must regain some face. Hee hee. Toad Guang shouted angrily, and slashed towards the sky with his 2 swords against the current. The pair of swords were wrapped with extremely powerful magical chakra, which directly caused the giant waterfall to flow upwards. I saw that the water in the waterfall dried up instantly. Toad Guang's immortal technique cut off the flow of this vast waterfall. After about 30 seconds, Toad Guang relaxed his strength. The waterfall left a raging water curtain again. Jiraiya said in surprise. Toad Guang, your strength has improved again. This time, with one slash, I was able to stop the flow of Myoboku Mountain waterfall for 30 seconds. Maybe the senjutsu chakra in your body is already comparable to Bunta. Toad Guang smiled proudly, and then looked at Zanu. There is naturally a sense of showing off in his eyes. Fukasaku also smiled proudly. Gamahiro is a master of swordsmanship and is very good at applying magic to the blade. It can be said that there is no toad in Myobokuyama who can do the same as him. Boy, if it's you, just hold on for 5 or 6 seconds and I'll consider you qualified. Fukasaku sneered. Several people looked at Zanu and found that Zanu's expression was always calm. After a while, Zanu suddenly asked, what, is this over? Several people were also stunned. Is this the content of the trial? Zanu laughed and said, is it so childish? Everyone present was surprised. Zanu actually said that such a difficult thing was child's play. Do you want to be so arrogant? Losing your mind. Xuanyu, don't underestimate this waterfall. Jiraiya said, if it weren't for the magic, it would weigh at least tens of thousands of tons. Zanu smiled flatly. Keep your eyes open and watch. Fukasaku said coldly. You can only use taijutsu, otherwise it won't count. No problem. Zanu smiled casually and stood under the waterfall. He crossed his arms, and a stream of pure chakra began to condense from his dantian. This is. Jiraiya was stunned. He has never seen Zanu use it, so he doesn't know. But, he actually has the power of 8 gates Dunjia. First door, open the door. Second door, close the door. The third door, the living door. Fourth door, injury door. Fifth gate, Duman. Sixth gate, scenery gate. Seventh gate, shocking gate. In just an instant, Zanu opened 7 doors. The speed of opening the door was many times faster than Akai's. Within the body, the talent of the physical arts master came into play. Pure blue steam began to linger around Zanu. This kid actually has such strong human energy. Fukasaku frowned. Zanu was seen lying on the ground with her hands. Get ready to kick. Because of the huge chakra, the surrounding water began to spread. Zanu stood on a dry ground. Hiratora, the right fist strikes like a tiger. A huge stream of white steam took the shape of a tiger and burst into the sky. Myoboku mountain waterfall was instantly blown away. The entire waterfall has disappeared. Fukasaku and Shima's faces were full of surprise. They didn't expect that Zanu could actually do it with the power of the human body. But this is not over yet. Day Tiger, 10th Company. 10 consecutive attacks on the Day Tiger, 10 ferocious high-pressure steam tigers, bursting towards the top of the waterfall. This time, the water in the waterfall was evaporated directly by the high temperature. Don't say 30 seconds. Even if you wait 5 or 6 minutes, I'm afraid there won't be any water flowing down. Jiraiya jumped up and quickly came down. Fukasaku, even the big river has dried up. I'm afraid this waterfall will not appear again in just a day or two. Jiraiya's expression was also one of surprise. But Fukasaku and Shima were even more surprised. What kind of power is this? Even the 8-gate Dunjia can't do this kind of thing. The three views of the two people were completely subverted. You know, Zanu's 8-gate Dunjia is no longer comparable to Metkai. No matter how strong you are, the power of the 8-gate Dunjia you use will be different. Just like the gap between Shaoli and Akai. For a person of Zanu's strength, the power of using the 7 sects is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. After doing all this, Zanu released the 7 gates. That moment just now evaporated a lot of sweat from his body. I also lost a lot of physical strength. After holding up the river at her feet and pouring it into her mouth, Zanu let out a long breath. What's next? Zanu asked. After opening the 7th door, he acted like a normal person and continued to ask questions. This made several people even more disbelieving in their eyes. You can steam up Myoboku Mountain and the Great River with one punch, Zanu. Jiraiya said bitterly. Fukasaku looked embarrassed. A flick of his sleeve. Even if you pass the first item. The second item, ninjutsu trial, no rest allowed. Zanu sneered. This kind of pediatric test still needs rest. Ignoring Zanu's cynicism, Fukasaku and Shima found Gamma Bunta and Gamma Takaru again. As soon as the two of them saw Zanu, they became ferocious. You also want to learn immortality here? Wentai frowned. Brother, we can't let this kid succeed. Do you really want him to learn the magic of immortality before he can go to heaven? Toujien said coldly. Zanu shook her head. Unfortunately, the wheel of history cannot be stopped by you toads. Fukasaku glanced at Bunta and Gamma Takaru with complicated expressions. Before the two of them could speak, he secretly used fairy magic to send messages to Togaken and Bunta. Bunta, Ken, you two, listen to me. Never let him go. Even if you use the magic in your body, don't let him pass the test. It seems that Fukasaku is really going to target Zanu now. Because Zanu's arrogant attitude made him really unhappy. Of all the powerful men who came to Immortal Mountain, how could anyone be as arrogant as Zanu? What's even more hateful is that Zanu really has the strength to do this. This made Fukasaku and Shima feel extremely unbalanced. Therefore, it is also their selfish intention to secretly increase the difficulty of the exam. Gamabunta and Gamaken both nodded. After all, Fukasaku and Shima are considered their superiors. Whatever you want them to do, they must obey the order. I got it, boss. Gamabunta said, just use your strongest strength. The magical energy in Wentai's body is the most abundant among toads. Able to use a large amount of energy equivalent to that of a tailed beast. As for the second level, the ninjutsu trial, you have to use your own ninjutsu to fight against Bunta and Ken's senjutsu. Fukasaku smiled. Xuanyu, in this level, you must use your own ninjutsu chakra to resist Bunta and Ken's senjutsu. I told you in advance that you cannot use space ninjutsu to transfer or evade. You must use some kind of escape technique among the 5 elements to deal with it head-on. This condition greatly limits Zanu's abilities. The reason why Zanu is so strong is not unknown to Jiraiya and these toads. Zanu has always relied on the flying thunder god and divine power to remain invincible. Coupled with Susanoo's power, he is almost invincible. However, these abilities are all restricted by Fukasaku. You mean, you can only use one of the 5 elements. In other words, fire escape, earth escape, water escape, wind escape, and thunder escape. Zanu repeated. Fukasaku nodded, showing a sly look. He knew that no matter how strong Zanu was, she would not be able to exert her full strength. What, are you scared? Fukasaku sneered. If you are scared, you can go back. Anyway, you can't just learn magic if you want to. Seeing Fukasaku's proud look, Zanu couldn't help but find it funny. He smiled easily. Fukasaku, do you really think I can only rely on the Sharingan? The reason why I use Sharingan frequently is because I think it saves trouble. In fact, my escape technique is more terrifying than my Sharingan. What Zanu said was not groundless. Through her talent Cheneying Link, Zanu has mastered dozens of escape techniques. Each one you master can greatly increase the upper limit and strength of chakra. The horror of this is beyond what Fukasaku can imagine. HMPH. Stop talking nonsense. Wentai, Jien, come on. After Fukasaku gave an order, Bunta and Takaru got into position. They are 2 giant toads who want to concentrate all the magic in their bodies to release their magic. As long as Zanu can resist the magic of all 5 attributes, she will pass the trial. Gamabunta and Ken took a deep breath. The round belly suddenly bulged out. The first trial, Earth Escape. Immortal Method. The Art of Earth Dragon Bullet. This move is an Earth Dragon Bullet launched by Wentai and Jien jointly using celestial magic. I saw a ray of earth gray light gathering from the mouths of the 2 toads. Then he gathered it together and shot towards Zanu. Zanu's eyes narrowed and she took 2 steps back. This Earth Dragon Bullet blessed by immortal magic is indeed no small matter. Even the air felt like it was being torn apart. I didn't expect Earth Escape to be able to exert such domineering power. Zanu took a deep breath and began to form seals quickly. Boom! In the sky overhead, a cloud quickly gathered. Then, it turned into a thick rolling thunder and was guided to Zanu's hand. Thunder release. Qilin. Under everyone's stunned gaze, Zanu actually led the thunder down. With the blessing of his own chakra, Tianlei became more than twice as powerful. Thunder Escape restrains Earth Escape. The immortal magic Earth Dragon Bullet instantly collided with Zanu's heavenly thunder. Although, the magic energy in the Earth Dragon Bullets began to erode Zanu's chakra. However, since this is almost the strongest Thunder Escape, the performance of Earth Escape is greatly restrained. Zanu let out a low roar. He felt increasing pressure on his hands. He realized that the opponent's Earth Dragon Bullet was breaking through his own Qilin little by little. Ah! Zanu couldn't help but roared angrily, mobilized most of the chakra in her body, and released it from the palm of her hand. Wentai and Jien were shocked and quickly increased the magic energy in their hands. However, it was too late. Zanu's sudden explosion directly defeated the Tulong Bullet. Finally, after the 2 sides contended for dozens of seconds, Zanu's Qilin actually overwhelmed Tulong Dan. What? He can defeat this level of magic? Jiraiya was shocked. Although its attribute restraint, it's a bit overwhelming, Shijian murmured. She finally had a reasonable understanding of Zanu's strength. I'm afraid that no matter how much his wife embarrasses Zanu, it will be difficult for her to make a breakthrough. Bunta spat. I'm not good at Earth Escape to begin with, let's try it again. Zanu grinned, beckoned and said, come wherever you want. Next, Gamabunta and Ken began to use their own ninjutsu blessed by immortal magic. Wentai and Jien, immortal magic. Water, iron, gun and jade. Zanu, escape. Great wall. Wentai and Jien, immortal skills. Wind training empty bullets. Zanu, fire escape. The powerful fire is destroyed. No matter what magic spell Wentai and Jien use. But he was still unable to cause any harm to Zanu. Fukasaku was also surprised. Zanu, this kid actually has such a solid foundation in the 5 elements. This is really beyond my expectation. Mrs. Wen has been frustrated many times and has become a little embarrassed. However, he still has the last move left, fire release, toad oil flame bomb. This is the best immortal technique he has used, and it is also the most powerful move. The last move, I must take you down. Wentai snorted coldly and began to form seals. Immortal method, toad oil flame bomb. This time, Buntai and Jien both used all the remaining magic in their bodies. It can be said that the competition has gone too far. Zanu must be taught a lesson. Facing Buntai's strongest ninjutsu, Zanu thought to herself, it's finally Fire Release's turn. A trickle of water gathered in Zanu's palm. A small whirlpool slowly spiraled into a huge wave. Under the surprised eyes of everyone. Above Zanu's head, a huge water-type tornado was actually generated. Extreme Water Attribute, let me test your power. This is the ultimate water attribute awarded by the system after defeating the second generation. In other words, Zanu's current water escape has reached the pinnacle in the world of Naruto. There is no water attribute ninjutsu that is stronger than Zanu's water release. Okay, Bunta, my move is called Water Release Rasengan Shuriken. Everyone is Yilin, especially Jiraiya. When did this kid create such a weird ninjutsu as the Rasengan Shuriken? Moreover, it is also water-based. I saw the pure waves condensing in Zanu's hands, gradually transforming into a huge water ball. Around the water ball, the shuriken-like water blade spins. Toad Oil Flame Bomb. The overwhelming flames of immortality have approached Zanu. But Zanu's palm swung out like an afterimage. Water Release. Rasengan Shuriken, thrown out instantly. The ultimate water attribute chakra directly tore apart Buntai's senjutsu and moved towards him. Buntai did not expect that his immortal magic would be broken in an instant. Moreover, he couldn't even hinder Zanu's ninjutsu. Standing there blankly, he even forgot to avoid Zanu's ninjutsu. Idiot, why don't you hide away? Fortunately, Fukasaku appeared in time and kicked Buntai's huge body to the side. With the help of Takeru Toma, he was finally able to dodge Zanu's ultimate ninjutsu. The water release Rasengan Shuriken flew towards a cliff in the distance. Then, it exploded instantly and turned into a huge water ball. Inside the water ball, there are countless fine water blades and impacts, causing thousands of injuries. Wait until the water ball collapses on its own. The cliff and the surrounding toad sculptures have turned into nothingness. Clean, as if it had never existed. So strong. Jiraiya made a gurgling sound in his throat. I have been walking in the ninja world for so many years, but I have never seen such a powerful water escape. It's hard to imagine that water release ninjutsu can make people feel so creepy. It's so scary. Not only was Jiraiya's evaluation not excessive, but it was nothing. Water escape is usually relatively gentle. Whether it's the shark bullet technique, the great waterfall technique, etc. They all focus on range and hindrance effects, and cannot cause much physical damage to the enemy. Among them, the second Hokage's water break wave is considered to be the most lethal in water release. But that's all. There is also the second generation Mizukage's strongest water escape, which is extremely powerful. Although it is very powerful, it is actually combined with the effect of oil. Simple water escape. No one has ever been able to do it like Zanu. You actually combined the Rasengan with water release. What a madman. Fukasaku said coldly. Zanu spread her hands, showing that she was at ease. The Rasengan is also considered a ninjutsu, right? Fukasaku turned his back and said calmly, you pass the second trial. Hearing this, Zanu breathed a sigh of relief. I thought this Fukasaku was trying to make things difficult for him. He was already out of breath. I didn't expect that this extreme water attribute would consume so much chakra. Just used it once with the Rasengan, and it actually removed 1/3 of the chakra in the body. However, this power can definitely crush all escape techniques. It seems that in the future, we need to collect more ultimate attributes. Jijian whispered. Smelly old man, it's time to stop making things difficult for him, right? His qualifications should have already passed the test. Jiraiya also nodded. Yes, Fukasaku, don't think I don't know. Your trial this time is 10 times more difficult than usual. I have never heard of such harsh conditions as splitting the Myoboku mountain falls. Fukasaku snorted. He himself is strong, how can he be on the same level as those miscellaneous fish? If we follow the ordinary requirements, it will easily kill this kid. Zanu was stunned. He originally thought that Fukasaku was simply unconvinced and couldn't stand his arrogance. Unexpectedly, it actually has a profound meaning. Lord Fukasaku, what's going on? Zanu's attitude became a little more respectful. Fukasaku sighed and said, those who want to practice magic must have a body that can withstand the backlash of magic energy. Just like those toad statues you saw. That's why the body becomes like that, because it can't hold the magical energy. The more chakra you have, the more magical energy you have to withstand. Therefore, the stronger the person, the higher my assessment standards must be. Otherwise, it would be harming that person. After listening to Fukasaku's explanation, Zanu finally understood. It turns out that the difficulty is high, and it has its own difficulties. HMPH, so the third item is the illusion test. Shima and I will personally be your opponents. Fukasaku said calmly. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment. You want to take action? This has never been done before. Fukasaku shook his head and said, for Zanu, this must be the request. When you are receiving the energy of magic, you will also be in the illusion of magic. If you can't withstand the test of illusion, no matter how good you are in the first two tests, I can't let you practice magic. Because, that is equivalent to asking you to die. Zanu took a deep breath. He's got it all. Opening his eyes, he said slowly, Fukasaku, Shima, I am willing to accept the challenge. Use your strongest illusion, come on. Fukasaku nodded. Then he yelled at Jiraiya. You kid, come here and help too. Jiraiya said, oh, and quickly activated the Sage mode. The nose becomes as protruding as a toad. Jiraiya's Sage mode is not perfect. However, his ability to refine Senjutsu chakra is the first in Myoboku Mountain in the past 100 years. Zanu, I also looked forward to having a real fight with you. But after watching your performance in the first two games, I still feel that I was a little overestimated. But don't look at me like this. In fact, what I am best at is not ninjutsu, but illusion. This is an illusion that even the Uchiha clan can't match, so be careful. After Jiraiya finished speaking, he summoned Fukasaku and Shima to his left and right shoulders. Zanu also opened the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Prepare to use your strongest posture to meet the three people's illusions. Zanu, as long as you can resist our three consecutive illusions, you have passed the trial. Zanu nodded. The blood in his eyes actually radiated out first, and he tested Fukasaku and the other three. But unexpectedly, Fukasaku and Shima were not afraid of Genjutsu Sharingan's illusion. The first move, demonic sound, frog croaking. I saw the couple jumping high at the same time. Tangible sound waves actually spread out from his mouth. The sound system is the type of illusion that can most directly affect the opponent's body. Zanu instantly felt thousands of deafening frogs croaking from the depths of her eardrums. Nosebleeds couldn't help but gushed out, and 2 bloody tears fell from Zanu's eyes. This is the first time in the history of September. Suffering such embarrassing injuries, while nosebleeds gushed out. The 2 eardrums also spurted out an arrow of blood. Zanu quickly covered her ears, but she still couldn't stop the tortoise frog crowing from entering her brain. After a while, it felt like there were thousands of worms biting in my mind. It seems like he wants to eat up his entire brain. There's no use covering your ears. This illusion is built deep in your brain. Faintly, Jiraiya's voice seemed to be heard. Zanu gritted her teeth, and the pain on the tip of her tongue made him regain his consciousness. Don't think that this means you have the upper hand. Zanu snorted coldly, and the 9 Magatama Eternal Kaleidoscope started spinning instantly. Self-Tsukuyomi. Zanu actually created the shadow of Sharingan in front of her eyes. Then, he used this phantom to get his own Tsukuyomi. The surroundings suddenly became dim and pitch black. The blood-red moon hangs overhead, and I don't know what stands in the dark distance. The good news is that the croaking frogs in my ears have finally stopped. Well, frog croak is really difficult to deal with. Zanu breathed a sigh of relief and took a short rest. Just now, he was caught off guard and actually gave the opponent the upper hand. Still reacting in time, he used the power of the Sharingan to fall into another genjutsu. Let me see what other illusions you can come up with. Zanu sneered. In the world of Tsukuyomi, all time and space are controlled by oneself. Even if Fukasaku and others wanted to cast illusions, it would probably be impossible. At this moment, a voice rang in my ears. You actually plan to use Tsukuyomi to offset my illusion. You are so naive, you made a fatal mistake. Although your Tsukuyomi is very strong, because it is used on yourself, it cannot exert 100% of Tsukuyomi's power. Jiraiya's voice actually reached Tsukuyomi's world. Impossible. Tsukuyomi's space should be controlled by himself. Zanu, take it, this is the second move. Magic. Toad duet. Buzz 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 buzz. Noises more chaotic than the croaking of frogs poured into Zanu's ears like a tsunami. For a moment, Zanu felt that she had suddenly entered a weightless dark space. There is endless noise in my ears. Is it that couple's duet? Although it is not as sharp and intensive as the frogs croaking, this song makes me unable to get rid of it. Even with the power of Tsukuyomi, he couldn't break free. Uchiha's illusions are not invincible. Jiraiya sneered, now, as long as I stab you with the sword in the stone, you will be helpless. In the darkness, thousands of figures of Fukasaku suddenly appeared. In the palm of Fukasaku's hand, he held the sword in the stone of Mount Myoboku. As long as Zanu is stabbed with this sword, Zanu will be trapped in this dark space forever. In the original work, Jiraiya used this move to defeat Pain and the other three. Can't be stabbed. Zanu gritted her teeth. Must fight back. Something has to be done. By the way, I didn't get my illusion clone for nothing. Sorry Jiraiya, I'm also good at genjutsu games. Zanu's figure disappeared from the place like a ghost. After a while, countless dark crows dispersed in an overwhelming manner. Jiraiya was stunned and said, "Is this Uchiha Itachi's black crow?" Tens of thousands of crows are flapping in the illusion space. Sometimes they gather into human figures, sometimes they disperse. Fukasaku didn't even know where Zanu's true body was. The whole world was plunged into a scarlet blood mist. The figures of Jiraiya, Fukasaku, and Shima finally appeared. Jiraiya said, "We also fell into his illusion." Fukasaku said calmly, "There is no way. If you want to stab him with the sword in the stone, you must be in the same space as his spirit. And this space is public. Next, we can only see whose illusion is better." However, Zanu's figure did not appear for a long time. The three of them became more and more anxious, even a little shaken. At this moment, Zanu's figure suddenly stopped behind the three of them. The kunai in his hand was about to stab Jiraiya in the back of the heart. Fukasaku's body suddenly twisted 180 degrees. Humph, so naive. Do you think I won't guard my back? You're done. The sword in the stone in Fukasaku's hand directly stabbed Zanu's body. I saw a burst of surprise in Zanu's eyes. Then, it turned into a triumphant grin. You got fooled. Zanu sneered and turned into crows and scattered away. Deeply shocked. Oops, quickly take precautions. However, it was too late. Jiraiya, Shima, and Fukasaku all fell into Zanu's illusion at the same time. Zanu's true body appears. It's thanks to you for setting the illusion that you hit the bait I set. This move is called bubble. The entire space began to collapse instantly. Everything is turning into crows, and then into nothingness. The four bodies are no exception. Not long after, in Myoboku Mountain, two frogs and one stood panting. Zanu, on the other hand, looked calm. Although his face was covered in blood, his eyes were clear and he didn't look embarrassed at all. You actually broke two of my illusions. Jiraiya stood up. It seems like I have to use my last move. After that, he made a simple seal. Words came out of his mouth that made Zanu's heart palpitate. Illusion. Fudo Mayu. Zanu's eyes froze, and her whole person lost weight. It was like a quagmire beneath his feet, sinking into an endless fall. By the time the fall was over, 4 statues of Fudo Ming King Toad had surrounded him. Toad stretched out his hand and constructed a barrier, trapping Zanu in it. And in his mind, there are illusions that are constantly intruding into the depths of his consciousness. Jiraiya slowly spoke. Strictly speaking, this is not a pure illusion. Because whether it's a dream or reality, you have fallen into my hands. Influence dreams through illusions, and trap the physical body through barriers. Faced with the ultimate illusion, the immortal technique cannot stop the King Ming. Zanu was finally at her wit's end. But, even at this time, he could still laugh. I didn't expect that I could be forced to use this move. But after so many days, the cooling time is almost over. Zanu opened her left eye, and the Mangekyo Sharingan began to rotate rapidly. A hidden light burst out in the barrier. destroyed all Fudo Mingu's barriers, and also pulled Zanu directly out of the illusion space. Other gods. Light. Jiraiya didn't have time to react. My mind has gone blank. Zanu turned into a ray of light and appeared and disappeared. In this illusion space, I am the master. Jiraiya, who only remembered so many things, slowly opened his eyes. In front of them were the tired faces of Fukasaku and Shima. How long have I been asleep? Jiraiya asked. A few hours, Fukasaku sighed. Where's Zanu? Did you pass the trial? Jiraiya was concerned about this. Fukasaku raised his head and looked towards the main hall. He has already gone to see the totem mortal. Fukasaku sighed. Jiraiya, we failed completely. Shima nodded. That child's strength is beyond our imagination. Jiraiya stood up and rubbed his sore shoulders. Fukasaku, Shima, don't think I can't see it. You have raised the difficulty level after all. It was supposed to be a test of his genjutsu aptitude, so there was no need to summon Fudo Mayu, right? Fukasaku nodded. I thought that as long as it wasn't the Samsara Eye, it wouldn't be possible to crack Fudo Mayu. But I didn't expect that in the Mangekyo Sharingan, there are also tricks that can defeat Fudo Mayu. In the three major fields of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, Fukasaku Shima and his wife were completely defeated by Zanu. Their embarrassment has never been seen before, even if we trace the history of Myoboku Mountain. But, even so, it is not so easy for the child to practice real magic. In Totem Mortal's place, there is the last test that he must face. Fukasaku said this, looking into the deep distance. Main Hall. This is a majestic yet simple palace, located deep in the mountains. There are steps leading to the sky, and the entire palace is interspersed with white clouds. Among several huge toad elephants, there is a torii where the toad sage lives. Zanu quickly reached the top level. Strangely enough, Fukasaku told him that Toad Sage lived here. However, there are no guards or guards here. This is a bit strange for an immortal with near-god strength. Pushing open the simple door, Toad Immortal was sitting on the tatami in the palace. Toad Immortal is an old toad who can't even open his eyes, which is quite similar to the one in the original work. However, after seeing it today, Zanu could feel the old and wise temperament of the Toad Immortal. The Toad Immortal became aware of Zanu's existence. He didn't look too surprised. Zanu cupped her fist slightly and said with a smile, Sha Xuanyu, I want to learn the magic of Myoboku Mountain. Toad Sage said calmly, I have seen that Fukasaku and Shima seem to have deliberately made things difficult for you. It's really not easy for you to pass the trial. Zanu smiled, waved her hand and said, that's nothing. I'm just curious about one thing. You seem to be able to predict part of the future. I want to know, did you foresee my arrival? Hearing Zanu ask this, Immortal Toad's expression became serious. After a while, he sighed slowly. I was going to lie to you and say I saw it coming. But unfortunately, I can't go against my heart. I didn't foresee your coming. The Toad Immortal said so. Zanu was slightly surprised. You must know that Toad Sento's precognitive ability is a bug-level existence in Naruto. Although he couldn't predict things in the ninja world, at least everyone who came to Myoboku Mountain was predicted by him without exception. The Toad Immortal smiled bitterly. Before this, there were thousands of people who entered Myoboku Mountain to practice. But there was no one that I didn't know about in advance. But only you, Chenying Xuanyu, I can't see your future or past. I can't see whether you can succeed in your final trial. So unfortunately, for the sake of your life, I must deny you the final trial. Zanu was stunned. Why did even the immortal from Mount Myoboku say that? After all the hard work, if you can't even learn the magic, wouldn't it be a waste of time? Zanu immediately said, I want to accept the trial. Toad Immortal whispered, I can't guarantee that you will pass, so you also have to accept the test. If you fail, you will turn into a toadstone. Zanu smiled faintly. He is the protagonist, how could he be turned into that kind of thing? So he smiled and said, Toad Immortal, don't be a mother-in-law anymore. My future is not something anyone can see through, it is in my own hands. The Toad Immortal was stunned. Finally nodded. Okay, then let me accept the trial. Now, I want to plant the seeds of Senjutsu chakra in your body. This seed will blend with your own chakra, and finally the source of magical energy in your body will be born. But if you can't control it, the chakra will be sucked away by this seed, and your people will turn into stone toad statues and die forever. The toad immortal warned. But Zanu doesn't care about these things. He just wants to become stronger. Come on. Zanu let go of her guard so that the toad immortal could plant the seeds in her body. The toad immortal waved his staff. A ray of light penetrated Zanu's body. Zanu instantly felt like she was in darkness. Is this an illusion? Zanu didn't even have time to react before her consciousness was pulled into this inexplicable place. Then, tsunami-like pressure began to come from all directions. Zanu instantly felt that her bones and flesh were being squeezed by the pressure, almost to pieces. At the same time, there is a stream of heat running through the meridians in the body. Every time it passes through a section of the meridian, its own chakra will be sucked away. The part of the chakra that was sucked away made the body become stiffer and stiffer. Is this a sign of petrification? Zanu was shocked and didn't dare to neglect. Mobilizing all the chakra in his body, he began to fight against the heat flow. I believe that this hot current is the seed of the magical energy. No matter where the seeds go in the body, they will continue to absorb chakra. What you have to do is to use your own chakra to conquer this seed and control it. Then, you can use this seed at any time during battle to extract magical chakra. However, doing so is not easy. When Zanu concentrated on fighting against the changes in her body. In the dark space, pressure from all directions is also coming. The simultaneous external and internal pressure made Zanu sweat profusely and fall into tension. At this time, the voice of Immortal Toad slowly came from the void. Zanu, did you hear me? The seeds inside will continue to absorb your chakra. You must control it before your chakra dries up. And the pressure coming towards you in this illusion space is the will of the immortal seed. You must use your mental power to fight against this will at the same time to succeed. I heard the Toad Immortal explain this. Zanu gritted her teeth and cursed the Toad Immortal in her heart. Why didn't you tell me about such a difficult trial in advance? The pressure is increasing and the body is getting tired. Chakra is getting less and less. Zanu fell into an unprecedented crisis. Zanu still had to concentrate on dealing with the two pressures. External pressure, as long as one is not careful, will crush his weak body. Although this body is not a real body, but an incarnation of spirit. But if he is crushed, he will definitely lose consciousness. At this time, if the immortal seed in the body is not suppressed, it will definitely absorb all the chakra and turn it into stone in an instant. Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Her eyes were opened, but in this illusion space, Zanu found that she could not use any eye skills. Even if you want to use it, you can't find the opponent or target to use it. In desperation, Xuanyu had no choice but to create 8 phantoms of Sharingan, surrounding herself. The 8 eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan eyes rotate around Zanu. Magic. Hypnosis. Xuanyu directly used 8 clones of Sharingan to hypnotize herself. Gradually, under hypnosis, Zanu's physical fatigue gradually disappeared. This is Zanu using illusion to numb herself and make her willpower stronger. Although it is not a long-term solution, it can improve the time you can last. Next, it's time to suppress the immortal seed like you. Zanu felt something inside her body running around. Absorb your own chakra, convert it into magical energy, and release it in your body. Because his body is not adapted to the magic energy at all. Therefore, these magical energies will cause him great pain. At this moment, external, Fukasaku, Shima, and Jiraiya have already arrived at the main hall. In front of him is the Toad Immortal. Everyone looked at Zanu, who was kneeling in the center of the hall with her eyes closed. How long has he been in this state, sage? Jiraiya asked worriedly. The Toad Immortal sighed. Already, it's been more than 30 hours. Jiraiya gasped. More than 30 hours. If Zanu fails to overcome the immortal seed, it means that the immortal seed is continuously absorbing Zanu's chakra. But how is this possible? The speed at which the immortal seed absorbs chakra is terrifying. An ordinary Junin would be sucked dry in 1 or 2 hours. But back then, I only managed to survive for more than 20 hours, and I overcame the immortal seed at the last moment. And Zanu has been going on for more than 30 hours. How deep is his chakra? In fact, this is not difficult to understand. Every time Zanu gets a clone, the amount of chakra will double. After so many upgrades, the total amount is terrifying enough. At least it's comparable to an ordinary tailed beast. Is Xuanyu's chakra so much? Jiraiya sighed. The more chakra you have, the more difficult this test will be. Fukasaku sighed. Sage, his chakra is almost. The Toad Immortal nodded. In his eyes, Zanyu's condition was clearly visible. Zanyu's chakra may have bottomed out. He couldn't be wrong. No matter how much chakra Zanyu has, it should be clean at this time. If he can't find a way to suppress the immortal seed, he may not be able to escape the fate of turning into a stone toad statue. The Toad Immortal sighed. Jiraiya's eyes were also full of worry. About half an hour passed. Finally, Zanyu's body trembled, and her brows furrowed more and more tightly. Toad Immortal opened his eyes and said, "Oh no, he has run out of chakra." At this moment, Zanyu's arms suddenly lifted up uncontrollably, as if being pulled by some invisible force. Then something weird happened. Zanyu's body began to gradually become petrified. The arms and shoulders have turned into the color of earth and have a hard texture. At the same time, Zanyu's palms also changed towards the toad's posture. Jiraiya gritted his teeth and said, "No. He has already begun to transform into a frog. I want to stop the trial." The Toad Immortal shook his head. "You can't stop it. Once this trial starts, even I can't stop it." Gradually, half of Zanyu's body turned into a stone statue. Only half of it is left, struggling to hold on. Inner world. The tsunami-like pressure has turned into a tangible force, squeezing Zanyu in the middle. Half of his body was immobile and unconscious. Zanyu's consciousness only has half of her body left to use at this moment. Oops, I'm afraid my body has begun to turn to stone. Chakra has also bottomed out. The immortal seed still shows no sign of stopping. For more than 30 hours, Zanyu has been using chakra to suppress the immortal seed with brute force. However, it has no effect. The immortal seed is still alive and kicking after being suppressed by Zanyu countless times. The ability to absorb chakra seems to be endless. Gritting her teeth tightly, Zanyu knew that she had to give it a try. The last moment, the last resort. An awe-inspiring evil aura emerged from Zanyu's 7 orifices. Like dark smoke, it gradually enveloped Zanyu's entire body. The meridians all over the body are filled with a trace of energy as dark as ink. This is a hidden power that Zanyu channeled after all her human chakra was exhausted. Dark chakra. Zanyu opened her eyes, and the Sharingan in both eyes had been filled with a trace of evil energy. This huge power of darkness collided head-on with the immortal seed. Zanyu could almost hear the sizzling and smoking sound of the immortal seed in her body. "The darkness in my body, please absorb all this immortal seed for me." In an almost desperate situation, the potential in Zanyu's body burst out. The entire person's consciousness was eroded by darkness and became violent. In vivo, the immortal seed let out a sharp scream as soon as it touched this trace of dark energy. It can absorb ordinary chakra, but it didn't expect that something could absorb itself. No, not absorbing, but devouring. The darkness within Zanyu's meridians gathered together and turned into a beast of nothingness. Opening his fangs, he swallowed the pure white immortal seed into his belly one bite at a time. Just like eating a crispy melon, just chew it and swallow it. Immortal seed quickly gathered all the magical energy together. Then, they all attacked the dark energy. However, all this is in vain. Zanyu's dark chakra can swallow and absorb all energy. Even if it is magic, it cannot escape the fate of being swallowed up and used by others. Is this what magic energy smells like? Zanyu laughed sinisterly, and suddenly felt her arms regained their vitality. With an angry roar, he shook away the pressure around him and sat down cross-legged with ease. "Don't you like absorbing my chakra? I'll let you taste what it feels like to be eaten." At this moment, in the main hall, wisps of black energy hovered around Zanyu. It seems to have formed a layer of coating to protect Zanyu. The Toad Immortal opened his eyes and stared at Zanyu. "Don't touch this black energy." After giving the order, Jiraiya and the others did not dare to move. "I have never seen this kind of black energy," Jiraiya said, stroking his chin. "Is it a kind of Amaterasu?" The Toad Immortal shook his head. "It's not that kind of disaster fire, it's something more terrifying than the disaster fire. I just released some magic energy and touched the black energy." Unexpectedly, I was bitten by the black energy all of a sudden, and all the energy was sucked away. If I hadn't pulled away in time, I might have been sucked dry of all my energy. I heard the Toad Immortal say this. Jiraiya was shocked. Is it something that even immortals are afraid of? Ridiculously, I thought it was Amaterasu and was about to seal it with a scroll. I'm afraid that as soon as I touch it, the chakra will be sucked away directly. However, it seems that the black energy has not continued to spread. It seems to be something released by Zanu in her unconscious state. I think he must be thinking of a way. While Toad Immortal was analyzing, something surprising happened. Zanu's originally petrified body actually returned to its original state. The body that had been drained of chakra was now full and rejuvenated. Could it be that he succeeded? Jiraiya was overjoyed. No, not yet. Immortal Toad shook his head. The immortal seed is still very powerful, but Zanu seems to have found a balance point. Everyone saw Zanu sitting cross-legged in the hall with ease. She closed her eyes tightly, but her eyebrows had relaxed a lot. I don't know how much time passed. Jiraiya opened his eyes tiredly. Zanu hasn't woken up yet. He asked. It's been 3 days and 3 nights, right? The Toad Immortal nodded. It's 71 hours now. Jiraiya sighed. Immortal, have you ever met someone who has been practicing for longer than Zanu? The Toad Immortal thought for a moment and nodded. Although there has never been a person like this in Myoboku Mountain. But, I heard it from the Immortal of Shigu Forest. The first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, survived in this state for 72 hours and then closed. In the end, he became the ninja god. Jiraiya was stunned. In other words, the longer you are in the trial, the stronger you will be in the end. The Toad Immortal nodded. It's like this. The longer the time, the more magical energy is in the body. The 71 hours of Zanu are already the peak of Myoboku Mountain. Even I am not as good as him. Time passed by minute by minute. Zanu has exceeded 72 hours and is still growing every minute. Finally, when time was frozen at 80 hours, a change occurred in the body. In the illusion space, Zanu lay relaxed on the ground, and in the palm of his hand, there was a pure white ball of light. This ball of light is the seed of an immortal. It had absorbed a large amount of chakra, but it had swelled to the point where it was invisible. But now, it has been absorbed by Zanu, the state when Toad Immortal was first put into it. Zanu played with the ball of light and sneered. You sucked so much chakra from me. But that's fine, if you hadn't absorbed all my chakra, my dark chakra wouldn't have been tempered to be so powerful. From now on, you must surrender to me and refine the magical energy for me. If you don't give in, I will let my dark chakra eat you in one bite. The seeds of immortals are the things of immortals, and they actually have spirituality. Before Zanu finished speaking, it took the initiative to get into Zanu's mouth. Then, it gradually sank to the dantian and merged with Zanu's meridian center. Zanu felt that the immortal seed had officially become a part of her body. Ding! It's detected that the host has obtained magical energy. Reward the host's immortal clone, which has been strengthened to the super shadow level. The ultimate immortal body has been obtained. The ultimate immortal body. The most perfect state of the immortal body, it can instantly convert all the energy in the body into magical energy. It can even convert external energy into magical energy. It can exert 100% of the power of magical energy. Zanu exhaled and shouted loudly. The illusion space directly shattered. Zanu opened her eyes and sat up from the center of the hall. Toad Sennin, Jiraiya, Fukasaku and Shima were shocked by Zanu's sudden action. Snapped. It was like the sound of an eggshell breaking. The stone on the surface of Zanu's skin suddenly broke open. Shaking off the fragments of soil all over her body, Zanu slowly stood up. After flexing his muscles, his spine and arms made crackling sounds. He felt as if his entire chest had been opened. The magical energy in the air was absorbed into the body to its heart's content. The whole person is like a new baby. Dark immortal lines grew out of the corners of Zanu's eyes and face. When the Toad Immortal saw this, his eyes widened. Black dark lines. It's unique in these thousands of years. Zanu asked calmly, what do the black dark lines mean? The Toad Immortal sighed. I don't know either. This is a dark pattern that has never appeared in legends. It means that your destiny is not limited to this reincarnation. No one can guess your destiny from now on. After listening, Zanu showed a smile. Then, regardless of everyone's stunned looks, he slowly stepped out of the hall. Standing at the top of the stairs, Zanu opened her hands. I feel that thousands of creatures in Myoboku Mountain are being summoned by me. The natural energy floating in the air, like a trickle, obediently gathered in the palm of my hand. Even if you master the immortal mode, you need to concentrate the energy so easily. For Zanu, all this is as simple as breathing. As long as he thinks about it, magical energy will appear automatically as if he has been inspired. It's even simpler than using ordinary chakra. The toad immortal walked out slowly. He said to Zanu's back, "Our Myoboku Mountain can no longer accommodate you. You don't have to come back from now on." After saying that, the immortal waved his hand, and a piece of consciousness fell into Zanu's mind. Zanu knew that it was Immortal Toad who gave Zanu all the knowledge of immortality. Facing Toad Immortal's back, he slightly clasped his fists. "Turn around." He raised his hands to the sky. Thousands of clouds and rain gather above the mountains. Immortal magic. Falling rain. The endless torrential rain poured down, immediately drenching Myoboku's group. Then, Zanu changed her gestures again. Immortal magic. Sunny day. The heavy rain just now disappeared in the blink of an eye, as if it had never appeared. The weather suddenly became as clear as the scorching sun. Seeing Zanu doing all this, Jiraiya was stunned. Immediately, a strong sense of inferiority made him lower his head. It turns out, this is the perfect immortal body. When I see you today, I will die with no regrets. Zanu turned around and smiled. When a wandering dragon returns to the sea will not welcome me. I will come on my own. We should go down the mountain. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.